2, 1. It is good to see you again, man.
It's good being back.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this again for a while. Because the last time I was even in the shop was like middle of last year, right?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, getting the leg piece.
And then last time I was on was episode 50. So
yeah.
I think the most recent one you dropped was like 170 something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man. How have you been? How's work? How's everything?
It's been good. Just staying busy, man.
That's good.
And you? I mean, I know the topics and stuff that have been, so this has already been out there, but how's the comedy thing been?
It's been interesting, man. I love it so far. Granted, I'm only about 5.5 months in, but I really enjoy it so far. And even last night, I went to an open mic before I went to go see Spider-Man, and it's fun, dude. I really enjoy it. I'm going to Austin next week, so when this comes out, this will come out right before I leave to Austin for a few days. I'm gonna do some podcasting out there. Hopefully, do some stand-up out there.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going fucking awesome, dude. I love doing it. I'm not great at it yet, but it's a fun process to keep going through, and I've accepted the fact that for the next, if I'm lucky, 3 to 5 years, it's just gonna be me banging my head against the wall till I get into a good rhythm, or I figure out oh, that's how you do this and that's how you do that and all that type of shit. But it's a lot of fun, dude.
It's one of those things, no matter how much, every time you think you got a handle on it, there's something new that comes along.
which I would prefer, because I'd hate to
just get stagnant.
Yeah, get stagnant, because a lot of people do that. But I'm just saying, if there wasn't a building factor to it, or if it was so laid out like you do I'd hate to use the very generic comparison, but compared to a 9-to-5 job, that I currently have, where it's okay, well, if I just do these things every day and I play the game and I do this, that, I will eventually get promoted. And it's a very it's safe, but it's laid out, not a lot of variables, and it's okay, this is what your life will look like. If I stay doing what I'm doing, I know what my life will look like in 20 years. It'll be provided that World War III isn't fucking erupt, but
it's a goal. It's a goal to work towards.
Yeah, and
that's good.
Yeah, but I just love that with comedy, it's so filled with variables, right? It's unpredictable, so it's fun, dude. I met a lot of cool people too.
No, that's good. It's very awesome. Dependent on your crowds. It's very dependent on the place you're at, the evenings you're there. There's so many things to go into it, but I think that's awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Post-military life's been good for you?
Dude. Yeah. It's been fucking great. No, I like it, dude. It's on a small level, I'm happy that I don't have to, censor myself, or I don't have to, dance around things while I'm on the podcast. I certainly couldn't have done stand-up while I was doing my military shit. That wasn't going to be a thing. There's a couple people here that... I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Podcast is now officially sponsored by the amazing people over at High Desert Relief, a premier herbal destination right here in the state of New Mexico. They have extremely well-trained and knowledgeable staff that are more than happy to help you find what you're looking for, or try something that you maybe have never thought of. They have 2 locations here in Albuquerque, 1 in Santa Fe. All 3 will be listed right here and in the description of this episode. All 3 offering legendary products at absolutely legendary prices, including this awesome merch that they were so kind enough to gift me here. All of this can be found at all 3 of their locations. Again, big thank you to the guys over at HDR for supporting. Now back to the episode. I mean, I guess they're comedians, but they're in the stand-up community, and they're still in branches of the military, and you can tell they're held back by it. And I don't know if it's they're afraid to say something, or even just, I remember especially in the thick of it, being in the military, I was just so like, I guess brainwashed, but like, you kind of have to be, right? But like, I was so like, I wasn't loose. You have to be loose. You have to be. I was very like one way. This is how things happen. You know what I mean? One track minded.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in comedy.
And when you're worried about, well, am I going to say this? Am I going to go into work tomorrow? Am I going to go tomorrow to show up and somebody's going to ream my ass out for it or get, so it makes it harder to.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, to be loose with it.
Yeah, you gotta learn how to be loose, and you have to have the ability to, I guess. And it's just being out now. My life is so less stressed. Like there's an element of stress that's just gone now. That I'm like, hey, life ain't bad.
I'm sure. I remember some of the stories we've shared when I'm tattooing you. So,
oh yeah,
I could imagine that there's a lot less stress.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun being out. I've been curious about this though, if you mind me asking, because I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but with comic book shopping and just the economy's on the fucking toilet right now. Have you been like maintaining clients, maintaining like workflow and shit like that?
I have.
Good.
I'm steady. I've been doing this a long time, and one of the things you want to work towards is establishing yourself and your name enough that you have a good steady stream of clients. You're not constantly fighting for...
Bring the mic a little closer.
Yeah. You're not constantly fighting for clients or having to do like deals and stuff like come get this flash deal or today only a full sleeve for such and such price and things like that. So right. I worked hard to be able to get my name established enough to where I can keep steady. There's a bit of a slow pace I've kind of noticed going on, but I think I've developed a good enough clientele and a good enough word of mouth that it seems like I still have people coming in and scheduling.
That's fucking awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. I really am, because I could imagine with everything going on right now, it could get a little, a little worrisome. But for, they say a little bit earlier, for people that there's a lot of new listeners now. You were on first at episode 50. That was 2 studios ago.
Yeah, for reals.
And so for everyone who doesn't know, how long have you been tattooing for?
I started my apprenticeship back in 1998.
Damn.
So, crap, what is that, almost 24 years?
About, because I was born in 97, and I'm turning 27 this year.
26 years, yeah, so yeah.
Holy shit. And just give people a quick rundown of like where you tattoo out of and where they can find the shop and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I work at Archetype Tattoo. It's down off Menaul in the freeway, so not too far. University of Menaul, that area there. It's a great shop. You've had Ben on. You've had the owner of the shop on before too, talking about various fun tattoo things and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm blessed. I can't never complain.
It's a great shop, man. Like hospital level sterile and clean and like well put together, and it's I miss it.
No, we do our best. Yeah, definitely.
I miss having money, but I miss getting tattoos.
It's an expendable cash kind of thing. Yeah. If you have money for it, you have money for it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, you kind of hope to build yourself up enough in your career that you could kind of make yourself recession proof, so that even though the economy's slowed down, you still have people coming to see you and getting work from you. And you may not be able to live in the lap of luxury like you want to, but you're surviving and bills are paid. And that's, I think, the thing that matters the most. When the housing market crashed back in 2008, I remember those lean times where you would go a whole week and maybe you got to do like one small wrist tattoo or something. So I know what those lean. I've been there for the ups and downs, and tattooing's like that. There's a series of ups and downs. There's plenty of people who jump on when it's like this and think it's always going to be like this. It's like, no, you gotta... And just understanding and learning how to work with that. So
2008, that means you've been doing it for 10 years consecutively. Looking back at that moment...
No, since 98.
Or 98.
Oh, well, no, 2008 was when the housing market crashed, so yeah.
Yeah. Looking back at that time, how prepared do you feel like you were when that happened?
I wasn't prepared. I didn't know. It was like my first real... slow season like that, like slow time that I had to deal with it, because normally slow season usually hits in the winter months. If you just establish yourself good enough and you got a good enough clientele, you shouldn't feel the slow seasons enough. Like you could get a little bit of a pinch because everybody's saving for the holidays and everything like that, everybody's tightening that budget just a little bit more. Even after the holidays, everybody's paying back their credit card bills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you hope to where you don't really feel that too much. So I knew what a slow season was like. I wasn't prepared for that. I had no idea what it was. It was still so early in my career, even though I'd already been doing it for a minute. I hadn't experienced that, so I wasn't prepared for that at all.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy. And do you remember like how long it took until things like, because it took like probably what you'd say for COVID, like a year maybe for things to get back to normal after the lockdowns lifted?
Oh, that one took a good couple years.
Couple years?
Yeah, that housing market hurt everybody, because everybody got houses were
So the housing market
foreclosed.
took a couple years.
Yeah,
Okay.
to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because that definitely, everybody was under with that kind of thing. That thing screwed over everything top to bottom.
Yeah.
So I saw businesses close. People that I saw tattooing were working construction instead of tattooing anymore. So many. It was nuts. It took a few years to get back to any kind of semblance.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And then like, because COVID, how long did COVID take? Like a year or so, a year and a half?
It was about a year. It was about a year before everything was some kind of normal.
Yeah.
Like we're still feeling the effects of it. I think we're going to be feeling the effects for a long time when it comes economy-wise and the way it's affected everything from global shipping to just cost of everything and stuff. Once these corporations realize they could screw everybody and just charge whatever the hell we want, we're all struggling. You think that you get a place to where you're comfortable and it's like, hey, guess what? All these little life things you need, got to pay more for those too.
Well, and I was going to ask like about like the tattoo supplies. Okay, is there a ringing in your headphone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I thought it was the air conditioner or the fan or something.
That? We're still not Joe Rogan yet. We don't have a multi-million-dollar warehouse yet.
If anybody could sit around for 3 hours every day and just babble, for a full week straight, then hey, good for you.
Yeah. Okay, tattoo supplies. Has it gotten any better? Like you kind of mentioned it last time with like the supply chains and like things have gotten more expensive, and then like the time that it takes things to ship here, whether it's domestic or international. Are you guys still facing challenges like that?
A little bit. It's a demand kind of thing. So
Yeah.
It feels like there's more demand for stuff, so it gets harder to get products. They sell out right away and stuff like that because people have been busy, which is good. There's new shops everywhere in town.
Yeah.
And on the worldwide stage, it seems like tattooing is picking back up and getting popular again. So it's more of a demand kind of thing. It's harder to find supplies, but even our supplies are going up in cost, And it's harder, especially for the needles. No matter what, everybody uses the same Japanese or Chinese steel. It's the same stainless steel that everybody uses. So trying to get that, you have to deal with international shipping and stuff. And so, yeah. So there's still a little bit of a demand. Like you need stuff, and it's like crap, they're sold out. So what's the alternative to that? But no. Yeah.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, I'm glad that things have picked back up to a relative, like something that looks like normal.
I think, it's funny. I think we had, and I might have said it the last time I was on, but luckily we only had the few months that we were shut down. We didn't have to worry too much about a bounce back from it. I think we were 3 months that we were shut down before we were allowed to open back up, that we were safe to open back up again. But from then on, we had just been like steady. So it was crazy. Yeah, like this is where I'm at now, even though I'm booked and I'm still tattooing every single day, I'm surprised that I'm not like a few months out at this point. That's how I could tell it's a little slow, because I'm still kind of barely filling up towards the end of May and moving into June and July and stuff like that. Whereas a few months back, like this time last year, I would have already been like booked out to July or something. So
right.
There's like that bit of a slow, but it's been pretty steady since COVID. We didn't really feel the hit too much.
Oh, well, that's good.
I think everybody was just anxious to be like, it's something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Switching gears a little bit, because we talked about it a little bit earlier. Dude, Spider-Man 3 gets too much shit. I went to the theaters because they're releasing all the Spider-Man movies on Mondays. Starting 2 weeks ago, I missed the first Tobey Maguire. But me and Joey, we went and saw the second one, and he's a bit under the weather, so I went to go see the third one by myself last night. There's a steep drop-off between 2 and 3, but 3 gets too much shit.
I give a shit. I'm one of the people that give a shit. I have my issues with it, but it's mostly it's bad. It felt like there's too much studio input on you need to do this, you need to do that, where Sam Raimi had an idea, I think, of where he wanted to go. And you can see those little things pop out, but like having to add Venom. And like, what's the point of having Gwen? She's not even like, there's no need for a Gwen Stacy in this movie. I don't know. I was
thinking about that in the theater last night. All of Gwen Stacy's time got taken up by Venom.
Yeah.
Because she was obviously supposed to be the foil to MJ. Gwen Stacy to Peter is what he wanted MJ to be in the first movie.
And she should have been.
Yeah.
You start with Gwen, which they tried to do with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but we know how that went.
Well, and I think at the time that they were making the Tobey Maguire movies, MJ was way more popular. Everyone knew who that was.
Oh yeah, by that point, everybody knew Gwen as Peter's dead girlfriend.
Right.
that was her legacy. That's forever been her legacy, at least until Spider-Gwen came around, and now that's what everybody knows her as.
Right. But yeah, I think that, because honestly, I don't even think the black suit's the issue in that movie.
I think
it's Venom. It's the fact he has to they have to flesh out another villain, or try to.
No,
anyway.
It's too full. You have the stuff with Sandman. You have the stuff with him being involved with Uncle Ben.
Which that retcon is stupid. I did not like it.
It's bad. But there's some really cool stuff in there, like the Collider stuff when the Sandman becomes Sandman. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I think Eric Foreman does okay as Venom. Like he's not Eddie Brock, but he doesn't do a bad job.
I was like, who the fuck is Eric? Oh, that's right.
I couldn't remember his damn name.
Topher Grace.
Yes, thank you. I remembered his character name before I remembered his actor name. Way to go.
Yeah, it's because I don't even mind him being in the movie. They just didn't have to make him Venom. They could have just waited. Put Eddie Brock there, establish that a symbiote exists, but don't leave that for later. That's like what they were doing with Harry. They didn't make him the new Goblin right after Green Goblin died.
Yeah.
Wait till the third one. They should have waited.
And then the whole amnesia thing and stuff like that with Harry, and it's just
weird. The
added dance scene between him and Mary Jane in the kitchen, which all the movies at that time had to have their weird kitchen dance scene or whatever. I don't know. There's just stuff in that movie that felt like bad choices, and I don't even know if I could put it on Sam Raimi as choices. It feels like it's very much studio and writing interference kind of stuff.
Because I can't name off his whole filmography, but I think that's probably the lowest, if not the lower, on the the ladder of Sam Raimi movies. Spider-Man 3's towards the bottom, when the argument for the best Sam Raimi movie for most people goes between Spider-Man 2 and Evil Dead 2, which is absolutely insane.
But he's had some great movies. Quick and Dead is really good. A Simple Plan is an amazing movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Drag Me to Hell was a fun movie, but everything he dealt with Spider-Man 3 drove him away from superhero movies. They had to drag him back for the Doctor Strange movie.
And that still wasn't good.
And I think that's a Marvel problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's definitely stuff in there that are Sam Raimi that are just awesome. Yeah. It's amazing.
That whole sequence with Wanda.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's what do they call it? Spirit walking or dream walking or whatever?
It's so Evil Dead.
Yeah. There's a part in it where it's there's a animation of water and it turns into oceans. I forget where that is in the house. And then where Wanda breaks the fourth wall and stares at the audience. That's awesome. But then the whole Illuminati thing was wasted. And then
it's cool how they did it and they dealt with what she did to them and stuff like that. I felt that was really fun, but I've been going on, I don't know, I've been thinking about the Marvel movies more than I probably should have lately, and as you get farther away from them, you start seeing the flaws.
Well, the 5-year of Endgame just passed. It's hard not to.
Yeah, you see the flaws so much in the Marvel writing and the way Marvel as a studio operates, because they're doing things okay, this is your movie. This is our action points. We're already filming our action points. Get us to this point with the movie and stuff like that. So nobody's allowed to be creative or anything. You get people what's his name that did the Thor movies, which I really liked Ragnarok and what he did, but then
Taika Waititi.
But then you get Love and Thunder, and even to him, he's come out and admit that it was just a paycheck for him just to do, so he could do the superhero movie to get the money from it or whatever. You know what I mean? So these people, I don't know. It's kind of sad and it's really frustrating to see, and then you get the Deadpool movies, which I'm really excited about, but it feels like everything else where everything is like, did you see that thing? Did you see the thing in the trailer? Did you see that they did this moment? They paid homage to this. Everything feels like it's just
member berries.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. Instead of, and I think the thing that makes a lot of those, especially the first wave movies like Iron Man and Captain America and stuff, they felt good because it's not, they changed the comics too. They didn't follow directly from the comics, but they were telling their own story, but they didn't rely too much on the snark, the humor. They actually told a consistent story from A to B, and it was entertaining, which is all we wanted, which was literally all we wanted from our superhero movies. And it's just getting to the point to where it's like, hey, look at that thing. Hey, look at that thing. Hey, it was like whenever Professor X came out in the Doctor Strange movie, they did the little X-Men cartoon movie sound whenever he came out. And it's like, really? I heard it too, and everybody got pumped when they heard it. But to me, it was just like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. You know, and it gets more depressing. And I think the way the studio operates and the way the studio runs, it makes it hard to do anything original. Because you're always going to get, like everybody complains about, you always get that big CGI fight scene at the end. It's got to have the big battle at the end. And I don't know, it falls apart when you go back and start looking at them. I still get plenty of enjoyment. I think the Guardians movies were probably the most solid 3 of the entire bunch. And I'll put them right up there next to the last 2 Avenger movies. Because I think they held together. They told a good story from A to B. Maybe because it didn't have to rely so much on the rest of the Marvel universe. They got to play with it. And I see a lot of the complaints. So I can see Tony Stark's personality feels like it's everybody's personality now. They're
trying to.
Yeah, so everybody's got to make a quick, quippy remark. Everybody's got to crack a joke or make a pop culture reference. It's getting sad. Yeah.
So the best analogy I can put it right now is like, and I'm in this category, I'm working my way out of this category, but there are people that aren't good at stand-up comedy. And you can tell that they are up there to tell you jokes. The best comedians around right now, the Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis, Sam Talent is really good at this, Adam Ray, they go on stage and it's like they're having a conversation with you that just happens to be one-sided and absolutely hilarious, right? And I make that comparison to like old Marvel, like that first Infinity Saga is a seasoned comedian from the jump. They were up there and you're having a good time. It's very enjoyable. Like it's like they put you into this weird like hypnosis, right? And it's also just really good stuff. This post Endgame with very rare examples of shining moments, it's like they're trying so hard to be funny that they're not. But they're trying to be everything, so they're not. You know what I mean?
They're not.
I didn't even care for Guardians that much. Guardians 3. Mm-hmm. I just I don't know. Maybe I was just kind of upset with Marvel anyway. And
just burnt out on it.
Yeah. It's just oh my God. I know where this is going. I know exactly. And then the whole fake out with Peter Quill's death kind of pissed me off. And I was like, okay. And then they were legendary Star-Lord will return. We've heard nothing about that. So I doubt that's going to happen. If I had to put my money on, are we going to get Spider-Man 4 or Star-Lord movie first, it's going to be Spider-Man. And that's with all the legal battles with Sony. And that's not going to come out until God knows when. Tom Holland is mid-30s. And you know what I mean? But there's a lot to unpack from what you said.
It's true, though.
And the studio stuff. You're completely right. Because once Bob Iger left and Bob Chapek came in, is when they decided, and they were launching Disney Plus. They were like, okay. I mean, I remember reading the press statement. They were like, okay, no matter what, there will always be Marvel stuff to watch, new Marvel things to watch, and that's why they were like, we need at least 3 movies a year, and in the gaps of the movies, we need all these TV shows, and so that means that Kevin Feige, it's funny rewatching Spider-Man 2. I didn't notice it in Spider-Man 3. But in Spider-Man 2, he's one of the executive producers.
Oh, nice. He is.
Yeah, and I think he worked on X-Men 2 as well. And scattered Marvel projects from back then.
Oh, well, he was. That's right. He was working with RV Odred and those guys that were running Marvel Studios at the time. He was like under them, and somehow I don't remember how. I read a book on it, and it talked about like the rise of the Marvel films and stuff like that, and the way he positioned himself to be able to. They're like, okay, well, you know what you're doing. You come in and take and run it.
Right, and so when there's more projects and he can't give each one the exact amount of time that it needs, if not more, to make it into something that's fully baked. Like a lot of those movies is like they took the cake out of the oven 20 minutes too early, and you're still like tasting like sloppy egg and like yeast mixed with milk. It's like, what is it? Like She-Hulk, what the fuck was that? Not to be like every other guy on the internet, but fucking She-Hulk was not good. I did not care for Miss Marvel. I thought, what's it called? Moon Knight should have been a lot better. It should have been a lot better. And the same with like Moon Knight wasn't bad, but it was an episode too long, and I just think
what I was gonna say. I think it's just a tiny bit too long.
Well, because that 5th episode is one of their best episodes ever, where like the doppelganger dies, and it's this whole. But same thing with Captain America and Falcon Winter Soldier. That should have been a lot better. But
and how much of it is on the actors too? One of the reasons Moon Knight was great was because of Oscar Isaac. I enjoyed Miss Marvel, but that was because of the actress that's playing Kamala Khan. She's great for that role. Heard. She's like the best part of the show. She makes the show. You know what I mean? I enjoyed She-Hulk. I think it was fun. It was pretty much just like the John Byrne comic of the late '80s, which I remember whenever I was reading She-Hulk at the time. So it reminded me to that. But they even poke fun at the whole Kevin thing at the end of it, which the robot that makes all the decisions for Marvel, and it's literally everything Marvel does.
It's AI.
Yeah.
And like, here's my thing. It's one thing if you want to make fun of yourself and then try to be better, but you don't get to poke fun of yourself and then now you've written yourself a blank check to do whatever you want. That's not how this works.
Nope.
That's not how entertainment works. But you're saying.
No, it's sad and it's funny because one of the biggest things when I was growing up as a comic fan, and I've been there for so many horrible TV movies and crap movies like that 80s Captain America's movie. That thing was crap, with the exception of shows that I grew up like with, like The Incredible Hulk, or there was fun cartoons like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, things like that you hope. You just want to see. I don't even need to see a movie. Give me a good superhero TV show, stuff like that. Same with Star Wars. It's like, okay, we don't need more movies. Give us some good TV content that you can do. But now that I'm finally getting this thing that I've always wanted, like we have TV shows, why are they so bad? Like, why is it so hard to get it together? And I know, like they say, the Marvel Universe, it was simple, and now it's so complicated that you can't even go in and watch the new movie without knowing the past year of TV shows and then the past 10 years of movies that came before it. You can't even just go and enter it and enjoy it anymore. You got to know everything that led up to it.
And I got to be honest with how popular Marvel is. I'm not mad at that. I'm really not. Now, granted, I'm also very biased because I read comics, right? But like, I'm not mad at like, hey, if you're gonna, that's for any movie. Like, look, I've only seen John Wick 1. Okay. I want to see the rest.
Missing out. Yeah.
I know. I am missing out big time. I'm waiting for like the 4th one to come out, and I'm going to get the box set, and I'm just going to watch it, right? I want to do that. I want to watch the rest of John Wick. I know how popular John Wick is. I'm not going to jump into John Wick 3 and be pissed that I don't know what happened in John Wick 2. I don't remember everything from John Wick 1. You know, or you know what I mean? Like that. Like these movies aren't anthologies. It's not like James Bond where you can just pick. I'm going to watch Roger Moore tonight, Daniel Craig tomorrow, Sean Connery the next day. You can do that because they're not connected. But with like, if you're getting like, there's a lot of things to get mad at with Ant-Man 3. There is. There's a lot there.
So much.
But one thing you can't get mad at is like, why don't I know what's going on? They should be spoon-feeding this to me. Like, no, not at all.
It shouldn't. Media shouldn't have to hold your hand. Whether it's books, movies, TV shows, anything like that. You should trust your audience to be smart enough that you don't have to spoon-feed them everything. They can pick it up as they go. If you're a good storyteller, you will get people where you need them to be.
Yeah.
Even if you leave the ending kind of just up in the air, you can still, if you told a good enough story, it doesn't matter. Your audience can come to their conclusions that they're going to come to. Yeah. They're going to take from it what they're going to get, but everybody walked away enjoying that whatever it was, book, movie, or anything.
Which was exactly what Infinity War did so well. That's my favorite Marvel, like out of like the Infinity Saga stuff. That's my favorite.
I agree. I think it's because anytime I watch it, I usually have to watch it back to back with Endgame. I can't just watch one of them by themselves. But Infinity War is definitely the stronger of the two movies. Oh yeah, hands down.
Endgame was a theme park ride.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? It was fun. It was great. I loved it.
It had its moments, but yeah,
I've rewatched it like 3 or 4 times, and on those last couple of times, I'm like, okay, that's a little silly. Okay, that's a little convenient. Man, that CGI is kind of rough. But then, like, I remember the theater experience where it was like, how the fuck are our heroes gonna get back? Like, even with the spoilers that came out, like with set photos and shit before, it was a fun experience. But anyway, back to what we were still saying. With the studios, they're doing too much, and that's why Bob Chapek got fired. Well, he retired or whatever, but they paid him out, let him go, and then they brought Bob Iger back, and that's why he scaled everything back. I think Deadpool is the only thing for Marvel this year, right?
Yeah, it's the only one that they're having come out this year. I think there's only like a couple superhero movies, and Deadpool's one of them.
Because Blade is probably never going to happen. Like, and I don't understand. Could you imagine how pissed Mahershala Ali has to be? Because he probably had, at the time that he got casted, which is like 2021, right? He is one of the most sought after actors in Hollywood. He still could be, but certainly at the time he was like supposed to be the next Denzel Washington, with how good this guy is and how like just phenomenal of an actor he is. And he probably had like 3 or 4 mid-level to indie movies that he was looking at, and then this multi-million-dollar check pretty much came his way. Yep. That was, hey, do you want to play a character that hasn't been around since the 90s, and the last time he was around, everyone loved him? You want to follow Wesley Snipes' shoes and be fucking Blade. I'm sure he grew up watching Blade. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he's like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. I'm going to come out with the hat on. I'm going to do all these things. Fuck my schedule. We're clearing it out. Because I think he hopped on eventually as like a producer, and then like...
He had a big hand in it.
And like an advisor to the script. Like, not an official writer, but as an advisor or some shit. They've gone through 3 directors, multiple writers, jumping back and forth between PG-13 and R. Like, what the fuck is... like, I'd hate to assume that it'd be a stupid thing to hang their hat on, but I almost wonder, did they push it back to see how Deadpool does as an R-rated Marvel movie?
I don't think so. I think Marvel just got shook. Marvel got shook bad by Phase 4. They overextended themselves. They realized it. That's why they have to completely go and realign everything. They had to cut back on okay, we can't be putting out all these things that we had planned. They had the thing go on with, what's his name? So now they have to rethink their whole entire Kane thing. Oh, no,
that's right.
Marvel is shook on where to go forward.
Do you know what actually happened? Because I'm reading so many conflicting things. Like, I'm reading that he actually hit her. I also read that he just like grabbed her, and there's actual there's like audio recordings of her saying like, I'll tell them you hit me, I'll tell them you're this horrible person and you'll lose your career. Like, do you know what he's actually getting charged for?
I've heard the conflicting reports too, but from what I understand, it's the abuse thing. It's just a DV, domestic violence sort of thing.
Was it like verbal or actually like physical?
They're saying from the ones that I've seen, the ones that got everybody to cut ties with him was physical. Okay. Because it seems like that's what the courts... But, I mean, I could be talking out of turn. I obviously could just Google it. But I've seen conflicting reports on it, too, because at first it was like... It was really bad, and then it came out, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. But then the courts looked at it, and I guess it was that bad. Enough that Marvel's like, yeah, we can't be working with... Because, I mean, obviously, it's not the first time they had to deal with controversy. They still work around it, if they're willing to work with you. So
did they have another actor that shit the bed?
They had what's her name in the Ant-Man movie, the one that plays the Wasp. I guess she was like a very big like COVID denier, and even like on set was like not wanting to, like, you can't get vaccinated and stuff like that. So they cut back on her.
It wasn't Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was the chick that plays Shuri.
Well, no, I know she was too, but if you notice in the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, the Quantum one, they've cut back on a lot of her scenes. That's why she's not in it.
The girl who
as
plays
much.
Wasp? Mm-hmm. No shit.
Yeah,
Evangeline
that's why
Lilly? Right.
Yeah, that's why she's not. They cut back on a lot of her screen time if you pay attention to it, and like how much she's like actually.
Well, I think the key word in that or the key words in that sentence is pay attention, because that movie lost me like half. The moment MODOK showed up with that big ass head, I checked out so hard.
There's
So
there's a lot.
I didn't know it.
I think it's a lot of it is CG, and this isn't. I mean, it's a Marvel problem for sure, and the CG artists have every right to be pissed because Marvel's rushing this CG through. These people aren't getting paid crap. They're given weeks, not months. They're given weeks to finish complete
6 months worth of work,
and that's why things look so bad. And we get to the quantum realm, and it's all just purples, greens, and blues. Everything looks muddy. It's just CG on top of CG. You know, there's ways to do it, I'm sure, that are fun. Look at the Godzilla and Kong movies for what they are. They're still enjoyable to do, and it's just giant CG things fighting giant CG things. I'm excited for the new freaking Planet of the Apes movie, and how much of that movie is going to be CG, you know what I mean? I'm excited for the freaking new Mad Max movie. I'm pumped for the Furiosa movie.
You?
And look at how much of that looks CG. I love the Mad Max movies, and I think that Furiosa movie looks freaking fun.
Dude,
I'm here for it.
I thought it looks horrible.
I trust George Miller. He is solid. Mad Max is his baby.
Yeah.
And that world is his baby, and I don't see it. I think he'll do good.
That's one that, like, I'm waiting on people's reactions. I'm waiting on, public response for sure on that one. Because, like, I don't believe, just from the trailer, I don't believe either one of them, Anya Taylor or Chris Hemsworth. I don't believe either of them in their roles. And I'm just like, fuck. Because I loved Fury Road.
Like I said, I trust George Miller enough to think that it's at least going to be an enjoyable film. Because, I mean, there's even Beyond Thunderdome, which isn't the best of the Mad Max movies, but it's still freaking fun to watch. And I think Furiosa is going to be the same way.
It's still fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Furiosa, I think it's still going to be enjoyable for what it is. George Miller can direct a hell of a movie. And like I said, it's his baby. He can roll with it. But like we were saying, though, I think Marvel's shook. I think they're scared, and they're wanting to see how Deadpool does. Like you were saying, they want to see how Deadpool does to see where they go forward. But look, we were pumped because they brought the Daredevil movie. They brought the Daredevil TV show, the one that we all loved from Netflix. They brought it over to Disney Plus. We're gonna get Born Again. Do you know how pumped it is to hear that? Sweet. And then they're like, scrap it. We need to go back to the beginning and redo it. It's like, well, what the hell were you guys doing wrong that you have to redo it all?
Well, did you read the leaks about what that show would have been with the original script that they were already shooting?
No.
It was like 10 episodes long. No. Still the crazy amount of episodes, but they had it No, they shortened it from the 15 whatever with this other script. Mm-hmm. I guess they had shortened because remember they're like 15 episodes, 20 episodes, something like that. So they got rid of that idea, and it was gonna be like 10 or 12 episodes long. Daredevil didn't become Daredevil or like suit up. Like Matt Murdock did not suit up as Daredevil until episode 6, and then it was all gonna be courtroom drama for the first 6 episodes. And it was going to be tied into Endgame, like with the blip. And then, which I hate that word. Do you know what the Russos call it?
What do they call it?
The decimation.
Oh, see, that's a good one.
That's a fucking...
Do they not want to be associated too much with, like, the X-Men books? I don't... Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, I have no idea. But they called it... They never called it in the movies, but they referred to it in interviews, I think, as a decimation. And to hear it be called, like, the blip... in what's it called? Not No Way Home. Far From Home. It's like, come on. That's what we're going with? The fucking blip. Anyway. So I'm glad they scrapped that script.
Yeah, no kidding.
But when they say Born Again, though, and they kind of already did, like, like, because season 3 was so hardcore, and they took so many elements from Born Again in that.
It's true.
They're not going to make Karen Page
No, they won't ever do that. They won't ever do that.
They're not going to make Foggy dead, obviously.
But they could fake Foggy's death. I mean, they did that in season 3, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Stuff like
and then
that. Ben Ulrich, they killed him.
They already killed him in season 1.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're not going to make Matt move into... I don't believe... especially after how season 1 ended, or season 3 ended, I don't believe that they're gonna, especially after what Kingpin was in Hawkeye, and I didn't watch all of Echo. I watched the first episode and I was so bored.
It was 6 episodes, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't even tell you what I watched, if I enjoyed it or not. I watched all of them, and I was like, okay, I watched it.
Yeah. So like, whatever they do with him in that, but like, I don't believe that Kingpin is gonna like rise to power and tear apart Matt Murdock's life and make him live in a studio apartment in New York and turn him into this like. Yeah, I don't believe that they're gonna do that. Like, apparently they're doing the mayor of New York thing. And yeah, because they are doing Kingpin for mayor because they have, or Fisk for mayor because there were leaked pictures from the set and there were buttons going around. And honestly, like, I know we were saying that less is more, but with the amount of shit they want to do in Daredevil, I hope it's back to 23 something episodes. Because they're doing a whole Punisher storyline too.
Oh yeah, that's right. I heard the Punisher is going to be in it too. So yeah.
Well, did you see the pictures?
Oh no, I did see the. That's right. That's how I knew. I saw the pictures pop up like last week or something.
And then all the cops are dressed up with like Punisher skulls, and they're imitating the Punisher.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So there's be a whole storyline. I forget the black guy's name, but he's in it. That's like the head cop that's leading like the quasi militia of police officers that are like shooting up with the Punisher skulls. So doing all of that. And then they're gonna have to explain like where did Punisher go after season 2, and like what did he end up doing, and all like there's so much they want to do, and I get it. Like if it was a comic book, it'd be easier. And I really hope they stick to 20 plus episodes, because the fact that comic books even work in a movie format is kind of crazy to me.
It can. And they change and drop so many things to make it work. And I understand there's things that don't work for the screen. There's storytelling beats that you can do in a comic where you could go boom, 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 where those 1 or 2 pages are only going to amount to 30 seconds of screen time. And sometimes there's changes that I think are made that are good.
Yeah.
But it feels, I don't know, there's so much. And Marvel lets me down on their villains so fucking
Yeah, that's
much.
always been their issue.
Forever. And how are you going to have a good villain if you kill them at the end of every fucking movie?
Yeah. And then the only good villain they had outside of Thanos was Loki. But then he's not even a villain. He turned him into this like cool guy with a leather jacket that smokes cigarettes, and you know what I mean.
And then even Thanos though too. They should have had him fucking do it for death. What is this 50? How many years do you think it would take for the universe to get back to the numbers he decimated? How many, like 5 years before the universe is back to half the population that he snapped away? There's like a point. He was doing it to impress death. They should have kept that. I think that, and even then, because
I don't even know if they could do that, because didn't Lady Death fall into like the 20th Century Fox rights?
I don't know, probably.
I feel like it did.
I'm sure. I just think there's better arguments for what the reason he did for what he did. But I mean, he still made he made a good villain for what it was.
Yeah.
But look, like they brought the Black Order into it just to basically have him chump out.
Yeah.
You know, Marvel makes me sad when I think back on it. And I love it. I still go back and watch these movies. I enjoy them. I'm a comic book fan. I'm a glutton for punishment.
That's the thing too, is like, and I see it a lot. I'm sure you see it a lot too. I'd imagine our algorithms are like 80% the same. And the one thing I don't like about people that are hounding on these movies is they hound on the movies and then they turn around and act like all comics are perfect. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like yeah, the movies suck sometimes. It happens, and it's happening now more so than it used to. But look, man, the '90s happened for comics.
I've been a steady comic fan since I've been reading comics since I was little. I've started seriously collecting comics almost on a weekly basis, like around the time that I was 10. It was back in '88. So a lot of people, they get into college, they meet girls, they find there are other things that detract them from life, and they fall away from comics, and they come back later. I never had that. Even with girlfriends and stuff, I still was at the comic store every Wednesday getting my books. It's no different now that I'm an adult. It's my one vice. It's the one thing I've been doing my entire life that I keep steady, and I still continue to do. I've been there for the ups and downs. I've watched the comic market go like this. Same with tattoo. I've seen it go like this, and I bought through. I see people that get excited for omnibuses that are coming out, that I remember the issues coming out, and I'm like, dude, that was like, you really want to buy 3 volumes of the Clone Saga? Like, it wasn't that good. Every time I see somebody get excited about stuff like that, and I'm just like, maybe, like, Gem Mints, he's like, the 90s is my jam. He's like, I like that stuff. But there's some books that I see people get pumped about, and like, there's no way that you're pumped about that.
Yeah. Well,
like, you don't remember. You weren't in the trenches with the rest of us going through this horrible comic phase. And you know, I feel the movies are the same. You're going to get, we had our highs. We're going to hit our lows. Maybe come back. Watching people get so excited for like the X-Men 97 cartoon, which it's been good.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm not a fan of the original cartoon.
Wow.
Why? I had already, one of the first comics I started collecting was Uncanny X-Men. That was my go-to book. I picked it up right in the middle of Inferno. So by the time the X-Men cartoon started, it was a little bit after X-Men #1 by Jim Lee came out, and it was huge. I was enough of an X-Men fan by that point that continuity was in my head. I was like, yeah, this is the way Claremont wrote these books. This is the way they are. The cartoon came out, and it changed everything just enough that it drove me crazy that I couldn't enjoy the show. I've tried to go back and watch it, and I don't get the same. And it's not to knock it. It's not a bad thing. So many people got into X-Men, got into comics because of that cartoon. Their love for that stuff comes from.
I gotta know. Because I'm one of those guys. I have like the first 3 Claremonts behind me.
Yeah, you haven't done there.
And I've read half of the first one. So
its storyline changes the way, but it makes sense for the cartoon. I tell my kid all the time because my kid's a huge fan of the Flash show, and
oh boy,
they love the Flash show.
Yeah.
Like, it's their comfort show. They go back and they rewatch it like all the time. And I tell them all the time, what they do is they make one small change, but it's enough of a change that it affects everything going down the line. So by the time you get over here, the premise of this one thing that you changed has completely altered everything on the show. And I felt like the cartoon was like that. So by starting off with the original X-Men that you have like Jubilee and Gambit and everybody like that, once you start introducing characters like Cable, and they're going to try and do the Dark Phoenix saga, and somehow it's going to be tied in with Apocalypse, and you got all these things that have changed, it was enough to drive me crazy as a continuity nerd, especially for the X-Men, because the X-Men was one of those things like, it's a family tree. This branched off this came here. This future is a result of something over here that they changed to go over here. So once they start changing on the cartoon, for me, it was just like, yeah, it's not for me. I was the same way with The Walking Dead. I was enough of a Walking Dead fan that the first season, I was like, dang, they're doing pretty good. This is the fucking comic. They're really getting it. And then they started to change just slight little things that I was like, oh, there's no point. Why are you doing that? Ew. What the hell?
Well, the show fell off so hard, dude. After I got through half of season 7, so like Negan was the villain, and they were getting into the swing of things with him, and I was like, you know what? This isn't good. They managed to make Negan boring, and I don't like this. And I just stopped. Because, dude, the Walking Dead, that's in my top 5 of comics ever. I adore that book up and down. That was one of the first comics that I read in graphic novel format, and what I would do is it took me a while to finish it, but once I heard that they were finally finishing it a couple years ago, I was like, okay, now I need to start catching up. And I have all of them down in the garage in the little trade paperback format.
Yeah.
And so I would go and buy 2 or 3 of those at a time, and then just blow through them because they read like a fucking movie.
Nice.
Yeah, once they started changing a lot of stuff they did, like with Carl dying Carl dying at all, and then Andrea stuck around for way too long.
Even the simple things like with Rick's wife and...
Or no, Michonne stuck around too long as Rick's love interest because him and Andrea were the thing in the book. Yeah.
But like the thing like with Rick's wife and Shane, like with them hooking up and stuff like that, like all that was different enough from the comic to go, oh, like that's just extra and not needed, and it made her look like a horrible person, and it just, I don't know, it completely messed me up. But yeah. I got through. Tony Moore and Robert Kirkman, they got me on a book called Battle Pope, which came out right before.
I've heard of that.
It's a fun book. It's basically like an end of the world kind of book, and God has given the Pope like superhuman power. Like, he looks like a superhuman. He's like, you got to make this better, and I'm going to send Jesus down with you, and he's going to help you out. It's ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous.
Battle Pope?
Yeah. But they won me over enough that whenever I saw they were coming out with a new book, and it was going to be a zombie book, and it was right when the zombie craze was starting to pick up again, that I jumped on it. I was like, sweet, Robert. So I had been reading from the first issue. I got to about the point where the Whisperers storyline started, and that's where I was finally like, okay, I think I'm okay to walk away from this book.
Yeah, and then like I started watching the. Sorry, I don't normally text during a
you're fine. No worries.
during a podcast. But shout out to my buddy AJ. So this weekend we're going to Quesada's Comedy Club, and to go watch our friend Buck D. And because I've never heard of him. He's a comedian called Polar Bear. That's his nickname. And he's coming through. Our good friend of both me and AJ, Buck, phenomenal comedian. He is being like the feature or the host. Yeah, he's the feature. And AJ had just texted me because I guess he reached out to the main. I'll text you and. I guess he reached out to the headliner now because AJ is a starting comedian too, and I guess AJ is going to be on the show now. So that's fucking cool.
Nice.
I'm very excited for him. Yeah. Back to The Walking Dead. So, okay. So in the comic book at the very end, where I forget what the community is called, but
I can't remember either because I did come back for like the last storyline just to finish it.
Oh yeah,
I have the collection. I have up to about the Whisperers storyline.
Okay,
and then I actually have that chunk missing, and then I have like the last volume of the book.
It is worth it, man. But that last part where they go to that community that's like pretty well put together, and they've got like the soldiers and the Michelin Man outfits. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the book, it's dope. But then I saw it in the trailers for the show, and it just looked... It's like we were talking about a little bit earlier, where Marvel brings in the member berries. It just looked like that. It's like, we're going to do just enough to keep the remaining comic book fans happy that are still watching this. Other than that, meh. You know what I mean? Like, it looked hollow. It looked very hollow. And with the way that the book, I mean, so you've read the end of the book.
Oh yeah.
So the way the book ends with Carl reading the story to his kid about Rick, and there being a memorial to Rick, like that, like the fact that Robert Kirkman had the balls to be like, you know what, I'm killing Andrea. Okay, I'm killing Rick Grimes. We're going to continue without him for this little bit of time, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be good. There's going to be a jump in time, but it's going to be good. The fact that the show killed people, but then couldn't continue making a good story because they didn't focus on other characters.
Yep.
So they had to retcon Rick's death, and then because originally they were going to make that Rick and Michonne TV show a trilogy of movies on Rick, and people were like, "Why? Y'all are going to do a Breaking Bad movie in theaters, but you expect us to believe you're going to do Rick? Shut the fuck up! Stop it!"
It became too popular for them. Is what it is, and they don't. And anytime you get into shows that are going to run long enough to be syndicated, is like, how do we keep this going even after interest had fallen away, or the show doesn't even resemble what it originally started out as? And I mean, I give Kirkman plenty of credit for that. He's not afraid to the author term of kill your darlings. You know what I mean? He's always been a big proponent of that, if it tells and feeds the story.
Exactly. And I forget the original writer that was on Walking Dead seasons 1 through 3, I think. Mm-hmm. But if you watch interviews now, like especially the one between the lady who plays Lori, I forget her name, she went on John Bernthal's podcast. And they talked about The Walking Dead a lot, obviously. And then when Norman Reedus went on Bernthal's podcast as well, all three of them talked about how they felt the change after that writer left or was fired.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so, I don't know, man. Like, I guess that speaks to who was the guy that did Breaking Bad?
I can't remember his. I can't remember his name. The creator of the show, Gillian was.
Yeah, Gillian.
Vince Gillian.
Vince Gillian. Okay,
yeah.
So I wonder how much that speaks to his character then, because I'd imagine that if AMC could keep Breaking Bad going as long as humanly possible, they would have. But the fact that he's like, nah, we have an ending to Walter White's story. And they wanted it so bad that they did. I've heard Better Call Saul is amazing. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's amazing. So the fact they had that run as long as it did, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I guess it speaks to the types of creators between. No, Frank Darabont, I think, was the original.
He was the person that originally brought
Walking Dead.
He's like, I want to do this. We're going to do this, and it started off strong because of him. They lost him after the first season. He wasn't coming back. Yeah, and that they said that took a big hit on the show.
The first season, dude. The first season, and this is not a knock on that first season at all, because I love it. That's one of my favorite zombie movies ever.
The first season.
If you just consider it a 6-hour movie. I mean, we got 4 hours Justice League. You know what I mean? So if you just consider the first season of Walking Dead a 6-hour, 5.5-hour movie,
which is what most of these TV shows are now, anyways.
It's so good. Yeah, that first season is. I remember when I was a kid, I would have I would have my allowance for doing yard work and shit like that, and I would just give it right back to my mom every Sunday, so that I could, or a little bit of it, so that I could buy The Walking Dead as it was coming out on iTunes.
Oh, nice.
So that's how we watched. We didn't have AMC and shit like that.
Yeah, so you had to buy the episodes.
Yeah, and that was so fun. And I was hooked on that shit through high school. But then the Negan nonsense happened. I was it's 19 or so. I was like, yeah, this is done. We're done.
It's executive nonsense. A lot of it can always come back to executives and however much they're willing to play. Like we were saying with even the Marvel movies. What's his Ike Perlmutter, whatever his stupid name is.
Bob Iger?
No. Ike Perlmutter is the guy that actually legit owns Marvel. He's one of the main guys that owns Marvel. So Iger owns Disney. Ike Perlmutter owns Marvel. And he's owned it since the bankruptcy. He's one of the people that came in and bought it during the bankruptcy.
Isaac Perlmutter.
Oh, what did I say? Well, yeah, Ike.
Yeah. Ike, you're right. Yeah, look at that. Oh, shit.
He was notorious penny pincher. He is the kind of executive that comes into the offices and turns off light bulbs and shit like that because you're wasting energy. What is this paperclip here doing on the kind? He's like that kind of person. Kevin Feige had to wrestle control over him. Him and his team are the reason why we almost didn't get a Black Panther movie. Why it took so long to get a Black Widow movie, because to them they're like, well, women aren't going to go see any movies. Black people don't want to see movies. They're going to do horrible overseas. These are the kind of people that are making
by China. Good to know.
These are the kind of people that are making the executive decisions, you know. But penny pincher, Kevin Feige had to go above him to Disney and be like, look, I can't do what I need to do with these movies because of him. He is not only making it to where we can't spend money on these movies like we need to, he's not allowing the creative decisions we need, so they actually took control from that and gave it to Kevin Feige, pissing everybody off, of course, but you know what I mean? So it's executive muddling almost all the time. Look at freaking Warner Brothers. Look at all the bullshit.
I knew this was going to come up.
No, we had to do it, but look at Warner Brothers. They're a perfect example. Even everything that fucking Zaglov does and has done since he's been in control of Warner Brothers, just axing things for tax write-offs, screwing everything.
I've been trying to yell a lot less.
I trust James Gunn. I think James Gunn is going to do good. I trust him. The one thing that makes me mad is, and I told you, I think we talked about this the last time I was on the podcast, is we had a good Superman. We were finally going to get a good, proper Superman because he was the only thing that was decent in that Black Adam movie, and we had him on screen for freaking 10 seconds.
Yeah. Black Adam was so bad.
And that's always been my complaint, because I think he was a great Superman. He just was handled by people who didn't understand Superman.
Well,
and I would have loved to. I think he should have stayed on. I think we should have. Apparently, this actor that they got to play the Superman now, he's good, and he's gonna. But stuff like that makes me sad. You know?
Yeah. No. So Marvel makes me sad. Warner Bros. Makes me angry. Yeah. Actually makes me it upsets me. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the whole, and I've gone over this. We went over this in depth the last time, but when you look at the whole picture, and whether people agree or disagree with what Snyder did, the way Snyder was treated, that makes me mad. Like, they leveraged his daughter's death to get him out of a movie. Like, that's fucked.
That's screwed.
Like, that's unethical. Like, that's even for a movie company.
And then let's give it to horrible person Joss Whedon.
Exactly.
So he can make it into basically a Marvel movie for DC.
Well, Joss Whedon, and then I guess fucking Jeff Johns is a closeted racist too. And that fucking broke my heart because I was like,
that made me say, yeah, that was sad.
I've been adoring your comics since I could read. Like, what the fuck? Why do you hate black people? And that's not even like I try not to speak in pejoratives about stuff like this on the podcast, but like the quote from Jeff Johns was that they didn't want an angry black man at the center of their Justice League movie. When what is the number one compliment that or like the most common compliment that you see for Justice League? Holy shit, Cyborg was cool again, or he was finally cool.
They had Cyborg was meant to bump up to the big leagues. Everything since the New 52, Cyborg was trying to bump up to the big leagues. He deserved that actor. I can't remember his name. He did a good job. Yeah, he did a great job. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as what's his name in the Star Wars movies. They got freaking screwed.
Oh, John Boyega. Oh, yeah. He got fucked because correct me if I'm wrong, but they were like touting him as like the next Jedi guy. Yeah, he was going to be one of the next like lightsaber wielding people and then they hired they changed it to Rey at the very end.
Like like we were saying, it's executive crap. These are the same people that if a movie flops, they look at the reason, oh, it was a woman cast, so well, screw that, we're not going to make any more women movie. Oh, this movie failed and it was an all black cast, we're not going to make any more black. It's that kind of executive thinking that they can do. Oh, this comedy failed because of such and such, so we're not going to invest any more money into that kind of stuff. And so we get crap because all they're going to feed us is the same thing that they think everybody wants to see because this is what sold money. And everybody that complains about no innovating or exciting things anymore, it's the reason why.
Yeah.
And it sucks because they're the ones that hold the money.
Yeah. and I want to stay on this topic, but a good example of that rule finally being broken is in video games with Helldivers just taking over. Like, they are actively stealing. Like, people will never go away from Call of Duty and shit like that, but like they are actively stealing player bases from people like Call of Duty, which is beautiful to see. I don't know if you play Helldivers or not.
No.
Oh my god.
As well they should though, because like we were saying about with the CGI thing with Marvel, the fucking video game industry is even worse, and the fact that look at these companies that are making fucking games that are huge games, and they're firing whole chunks of their staff. Well, some of the places are closing down.
They just fired 30% of the staff that was going to work on fucking GTA 6.
It's like insane.
It's insane. But anyway, so Warner Brothers. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember when Zaslav came in, it was supposed to be this great thing that's going to happen and fix everything. I was like, okay, sounds good. And then, honestly, I didn't really make a decision on how I felt about Batgirl getting axed for the reason they've axed it for. Obviously, I didn't like it happening because I wanted to see that movie. The movie it sounded cool. I hated the fact that Michael Keaton was Batman in it, but whatever. Like, whatever. We'll see. Like, we'll see what this turns into. But when I heard that they're axing it for tax reasons, I was like, okay. This is his first major decision, and they are saying The Flash is amazing. maybe this is kind of the ugly things we need, because there were still questions at the time. Like, the directors were mad, so they weren't going to work with them again, which is fair. But there were questions of like, oh, are they still keeping Leslie Grace? Are they still going to keep like the cast but use them elsewhere? Just that movie was trash. We'll see. And then The Flash came out. That's why I don't trust James Gunn. Because even outside of one of the reasons I don't trust James Gunn, I have a few reasons not to, but I even outside of that like video presentation that he did end of January of last year,
when he announced what they wanted to do,
and they're breaking down the slate, and he's talking about the movies that are coming up, and he said he loved The Flash and that, but he would go out on his social media campaigning for Flash before that video came out, where it was like, this is one of the best comic movies ever made. This movie is a great da-da-da. And then he even lied in the video saying that The Flash reset the universe. No, the fuck it didn't. It didn't. So anyway, so The Flash comes out, and I'm like, oh, this is dog shit. This is okay. Did The Flash come out or did Black Adam come out first?
Black Adam came out first.
Black Adam came out first, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, Black Adam was dog shit too. Black Adam was worse. I've rewatched The Flash. I will never touch Black Adam. Black Adam was so bad. I was sitting there And I remember I held my head in my hands.
I don't think I've watched it since I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it's so bad. And I was like, this is dog shit, but Henry Cavill. Okay, and you can tell, like, okay, obviously this is the only thing that was given care in this movie outside of The Rock's eyebrows and his fucking steroid cycle was Superman in the post-credit scene. Okay, sounds good. We have the Flash still. Let's see what happens, because I've got a buddy who's an insider at Warner Brothers, and, like, they shot scenes for Cavill, and they shot more scenes for Wonder Woman on the set of of Flash. And they did a whole scene at the end of the Flash movie, even after the Ray Fisher stuff happened. They did a whole scene at the end of the Flash where it's Snyder's Justice League. Like they're all fighting together.
And they should have did that. They could have cut out problematic fucking Ezra Miller more out of that movie and just started some of this stuff that they filmed and put in there. They're like,
yeah.
You know, we have this movie that we spent so much money on, we're gonna drop it anyways. Oh, our actor is a huge fucking problem.
Yeah.
That we question whether we should put this movie out. You know what we should do? Let's put it out anyways. Oh, and you know what? There's gonna be 3 of him in the movie.
And what's crazy about that is, like, honestly, I don't agree with it, but I see why they did it. It's
You put the money in it.
And they were also, I'll bet you, they were like, yo, we have 2 Batmans. Now, on paper, yeah, that should walk away with $800 million just existing. That should absolutely walk away with it, right? Especially with the way those trailers looked. It should have walked away with $800 million. And if the movie was actually good, it probably would have. But I think it was a mixture of extremely poor word of mouth when it first came out, and then, because I think they had record number of ticket refunds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they had a record number of ticket refunds. And then, so it's that. And then it showed the studios that, like, hey, people actually care if you have shitbags in your movie. You know what I mean?
There's so many people I had talked to about that movie or even heard from that. So many people are like, I'm curious, but not with who they fucking have playing, not with Ezra Miller on it. So that's enough to keep me like, I don't want to support this kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I agree. It's the studio looking at it like, we dumped this much money into it, we need to get it. But once I saw that he was going through, and it wasn't just a Bad Girl movie. Once you found out that he was just axing like shows and everything for tax purposes, there was a show that I really liked. It was called Final Space. It was really fucking cool, but it ended the final season. We were hoping to maybe get another season, but then it was a product of that to where it got the boot. And what happened is, because of tax purposes, it doesn't exist. You can't buy it. You can't find it. And because it was because it was after DVD and Blu-ray and stuff, there's no physical copies of it. It's gone. The creator was like, I've done everything. He wants to finish the show, get like a final season, and he's going to do it in graphic novel form. And he's like, he had to beg Warner Brothers. It's his property. He had to beg them to let them do the graphic novel. He's only allowed to do a certain number of them. He has to pre-order all of them. He has like so many stipulations that he has to follow just so he could put out something that's his. He doesn't even have access to the episodes anymore because of this, whatever it is with the tax write-off, it's gone.
Well, I understand like the ownership of it, like morally and ethically, but that is it's shitty they're doing it, but that's property of Warner Brothers, dude.
I know, but that's crazy though. Fucked. Just like for a tax purpose,
it's
like
fucked.
just burn it to the ground. Like it's gone.
He should be upset for sure.
But it's not even that. There's so many shows that got the axe, and it was not the first time he's done it a couple times since then. But just to think, if you don't own something, it's just in physical form, it's gone.
And because
something like
of
that
the
happens.
legal shenanigans in Warner Brothers, the moment I heard that Snyder Cut was getting a physical, I was like, yeah.
I'm going to get it because you never know.
Because you never know. I could load up HBO Max. I thought about it. I was like, oh, it'll be on HBO Max. And it's like, no, okay, first of all, I love physical media. But second of all, if I boot up HBO Max one day and it's not fucking on there, I'm going to lose my shit. And a good example of that is 28 Days Later. That movie went viral, I think, 2 months ago because people were like, oh, Alex Garland has a movie coming out. Oh, what other movies? Oh, he's the guy from 28 Days Later. Oh, I want to rewatch that. That was a great movie. And people are like, where the fuck is 28 Days Later? Because it's out of print in physical media. It's not streamed. No one has the streaming rights because I guess I was trying to read about it and something happened where like some distribution rights like they lapsed, but no one like it sounded like a clerical error. Like no one like tried to bid for them, or nobody tried to renew their rights. Like send in the paperwork. It's like, yeah, when X date of next year happens, just automatically we want to keep this. Here's all the money, whatever. Paying out who has to pay out. Just so many things happen to where like the distribution rights are kind of in limbo right now, and then the printing rights are in limbo. So no one can print it, even if they wanted to make a DVD or a Blu-ray or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you don't own, like I have 28 Days Later somewhere on DVD.
I do too.
That I got years and years ago. If you want to watch that movie now, and you don't have it on physical media, you're screwed. Unless you want to use, something that sounds a lot like the Pirate Ray, like it's, unless you want to do that, like it's not going to happen.
No, there's plenty of things where I hear about it and it's like, oh, that sounds good. Maybe I'll go look. Maybe I'll see if it's streaming. Half the time it's not streaming. Half the time the DVD or Blu-ray is out of print, and I'm not about to spend fucking $90 on a damn Blu-ray or a DVD because you can't even get a Blu-ray of it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's like books. I hate it. And Marvel is bad about this. DC's kind of bad about it. But you can't tell me that I can find Volume 1 and Volume 3 of this hardcover so easily and get them for cover price. But Volume 2, you're not going to print, and it's going to be on the aftermarket for $200 just to get this one book that should be in print because you obviously keep the other 2 volumes in print. It's the same. It's like, what the
Like, I understand, like, I'm sure they have, like, a decent plan of how to, like, make the new books happen, you know what I mean? But, like, I would just have a team of people. If you're a comic book company, I would just have a team of people, and their whole purpose in life is to look at the aftermarket and see what's the highest paying thing. Like, oh, okay, so there's obviously a demand for this, and they're selling. That you'll have your outsiders, like the books that go for, like, especially today, the books that go for, like, $500. Like, stupid shit like that. Like, you have those outsiders. Or outliers, but you'll have like, a couple books. We were just looking at it beforehand with Batman 66. Like, okay, 125 here, 150 here, 200 here, and book prices are rising anyway as it is. I don't know why they wouldn't just look at the aftermarket and be like, yeah, look, people are in demand. This book's in demand for people. Let's just reprint it. That's what would make sense for me.
That's what I would think too. You would figure this book is obviously selling good enough to. But I have the Guardians of the Galaxy by Bendis Omnibus #1.
Oh my god!
They reprinted it, Volume 1. Have we got a Volume 2 yet? No. They put out.
I didn't know they did Volume 1.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but they put it out. They just recently reprinted it with like 3 different covers, but we haven't got a Volume 2. Absolute Transmetropolitan. I have Volume 1, Volume 2. Volume 3 should be the next one that's being released. You know what was solicited last month? Volume 1. A reprint of Volume 1. But are we getting Volume 3?
We need to make sure we got everybody. They're making a victory lap.
I don't understand this stuff. Like, it blows my mind. I don't know. I think there's a demand for it, but it's like I keep telling everybody. A lot of people at top, they don't see workers as people. They're numbers on a screen. It's probably the same thing when it comes to books and stuff. Yeah. Books, movies, things like that. It's numbers on a screen. This is the number of pre-orders we got for this. We printed this many books, and we still have this many remaining in stock. So it must not be popular. You know what I mean? So we don't need to reprint it, so it could go out of print. Same thing. So to them, all they see is what's in front of them and what's on the screen. And so, like you said, unless you're hiring somebody that can go, well, no, look, we see that there's a demand for this. I don't know what some comic book store in fucking Wisconsin has. I don't know what some comic book store in Montana has on their shelves. This book that I can't find anywhere online because they don't have an online presence, I can go somewhere and I might be able to find it, but I'm not going to know. I'm not in that state. When am I ever traveling to that state? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because of the way the comic industry is built, your sell-through is what determines everything. What you sold to the stores, if you sold out or if you didn't sold out. It doesn't matter what the store still has on the shelves, what the store was able to sell. The store may have bought 200 copies of this one book, so it looks like it's popular, but did the store actually sell all 200 copies of that book? So, it's frustrating. Comics is a hard game. It is a cruel mistress. And ever since COVID, the hobby market has just exploded. And especially with omnibuses, because people did realize, oh, there's whales for stuff. Oh, there's stuff out of print. Well, if I could get a copy, I could flip it. One thing that trips me out every time, and I've seen people defend it, but it trips me out every time on that one page that we both follow on Facebook, is I'll see people selling their collections, and they will have 4 copies of one book, and every one of those copies is sealed. They'll have 2 or 3 shelves, and there will be doubles of each book. It's like you're buying. It's like when X-Men #1 came out, you bought up 20 copies hoping to flip it one day because you were hoping to put your kid through college, or you were thinking it was a wise investment. People are doing the same with these books aftermarket. They're, well, oh shoot, this omnibus came out. It's going to be popular. I better snatch up as many copies as I can. In a couple months, hopefully I'll flip it. And so people do that. And it's like, dude, you can still find that on IST for below cover. Like, what are you doing? But I see it all the time where people post, and I'm like, you bought that book and you didn't even crack the spine on it. You didn't even break it out of the shrink wrap. You're just hoping just to one day flip it.
Yeah.
But I think that's me as a collector and not as an investor for this hobby. I'm here to read it. I'm here to enjoy it. I've always been. If my books are worth something, freaking A, that's cool. Maybe someday, like with my single issues, maybe one day I'll go turn them in and I'll get store credit and get something else. You know what I mean? I'm not hoping to get rich off this hobby. I never was.
Yeah.
But there's people who are in it to do that. Gem Mint does that all the time. He talks about feeding into the hobby to feed the hobby. Sell so you could buy, and constantly flipping and you could just get back. And I mean, I've done that plenty of times. I've been local stores and stuff where I've taken books to and I just get store credit for whatever it is, you know?
There's a difference between that and then just doing it strictly for flipping. And there's a difference, though. And I see both arguments, right? But it's like, well, that kind of lends itself more to single issues. Like, the whole point of these books shouldn't be to flip them. It's like, okay, we can finally reread these now. It's a reread.
That's what I think. Seriously, I pulled my JLA off the shelf because, I mean, I'm a big Grant Morrison head, but I wanted to reread it. And I was like, okay, I got the Omni. I'm going to sit down and read it. That book is fucking heavy. Nobody's owning that book just to have it sit pretty on the shelf. If you're buying something like that, you're going to read it, and it's not going to be an easy read. Like World War Hulk behind you. Look at how fat that book is. Yeah. Look at this Jack Kirby book. I have volume 1 and volume 2 of this Jack Kirby book. That thing is like 1,300 pages.
Yeah.
If I sit there and read it, I got to read it on the bed because I cannot hold it in my lap. These are reader copy. We're buying these because we want to read it. It's not going to be something that just sits there. I am not going to spend that much on this book to own the storyline, so that way I can watch it collect dust, and hopefully maybe one day it'll go out of print and it'll be a whale and I can flip it for 3 times what I sold it.
Exactly. And like, dude, fuck, man. And you have to, like you're just saying, you have to love the shit, because when I was moving
oh my god,
moving a fucking collection is horrible. It's horrible. I fucking hate it. Like, I fucking hate it. Like, I understand why people hire movers.
No, it sucks. One of the things, whenever I moved out 3 years ago and I had to get my own place, anytime I moved, my books were always the first thing I moved, and I would just load them up and take them. And it would probably take a couple trips. But the past few years being on my own, for some reason, my collection has just like grown. Anytime I've looked and I'm like, God, if I got to move, this is going to suck.
It sucks.
This is going to suck. Okay.
I was up to like 1 a.m. one night, hauling books from this house, or from the other old house to this house. Just going. It fucking sucked.
So, according to my CLZ, this is not just trades. This is single issues too.
What's CLZ?
It's a comic. It's a way to... So, I input all the books that I have. And it basically just keeps me a catalog of it. And I pay like $15 a year or something or whatever for it. And it lets me... I scan and I scan my barcode and it'll just load it. So I have singles and stuff, but
there's singles in there?
Yeah. This is the number of comics that I own.
Psycho.
This is books and single issues.
Yes, that's 7,500.
Trying to move that again, like you said, I'm gonna fucking move. I'm gonna hire a moving company and let them come with a dolly and boxes because I'm psychotic. Shit. And it's a little out of date because there's some singles. I've gotten rid of a couple boxes of singles, and I think I've forgotten to go through and like delete them. But
that is incredible.
It's insane. My house, I mean, there's bookshelves. At my old house, I was lucky enough that we had an extra room, like the garage was converted into a room, so I was able to make that into my library. But now in like my new place, it's pretty much like a mobile home, and I only have so much wall space. So like you go into my bedroom, there's like 4 shelves in there. You go into the living room, there's a wall of shelves. There's a wall of shelves. There's a wall. You go into the hallway, there's a wall shelf. You go into the kitchen, there's like I have to have them all spaced out.
Yeah.
I have bookshelves everywhere, and it's just insane. And I can't stop getting books. Tax write-off. It's research material. It's reference material for me, so it works.
Just like that was studio decoration, that Leatherface.
Exactly.
Yeah, studio decoration.
It is. I mean, I used comics for reference and stuff. I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
Your tattoos.
Yeah, quite fucking literally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it counts. It counts for my profession and what I do.
And
that's me justifying. But like I said, it's the one hobby I really have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, every Wednesday I'm at the comic shop and I have my books that come in. Every Tuesday I'm checking IST to see what the new books are, see if there's like a new Omni or something that I'm going to get, or you know what I mean? I'm in my car. I have books that just came in the mail freaking today. Ready to go home. Before I got here, I just came from the comic store because I was like, I think I can make it to the comic store if I got to get to his house. You know?
Do you go to Astro Zombies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Astro Zombies.
I love them now.
They're great. And the owner I knew him for years. He was a good friend, and he sold it to a really great group of guys that took it over, and they're running the place amazing.
Yeah.
And is definitely it's my shop. It's been my shop we were just trying to figure that out today for how long I've been a member, a box holder at Astro Zombies, and it's probably been since like 2008.
Yeah, it's funny, dude. I saw mine because I go to Comic Warehouse on Menaul, and mine says I think 2011 or 2012. I'm like, yeah, that's right, loyalty, bitch.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. I'm loyal, but I'm still. This goes back to whenever I was younger and just getting into comics, or even used books, because I love books.
Yeah,
I'm a reader. I love books, no matter what. If it's comic books, if it's novels, if it's nonfiction, fiction, it doesn't matter. If it's physical, if it's digital, audiobook, I don't care. I love books. I just love consuming. And the art of comics just makes the artist in me, it speaks to me. But the collector in me, the person who says that, I sit there at home and I look at my shelves and I go, I got the Infinity Gauntlet. I have the Trade of Infinity War and Infinity Crusade. I could only have volume 1. But volume 2 is out of print, and I can't find it, and I'm not going to spend those aftermarket prices. But to get those, but both of those Omnis are out of print, and I don't feel like paying full price for them. I don't feel like paying aftermarket prices for them. I've seen Infinity Crusade every now and then pop up, but it's like cover. It's like $150 or something, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it. The collector in me, though, it bugs me. So even though every time I say that my collection, I'm good, I'm comfortable, I'll see a hole that I want to fill, or I'll pick up a new series and all of a sudden I need to consume that. I'm the same way with music. If I find somebody I like, I need to consume everything they've done. What is every album you've come out with? Is there live stuff? Is there videos? Let me see it. Saying, and so it's that collector's mentality, and you got to know when to kind of draw it in and not kill you. But going back to what I was saying is the same. I would go to comic stores around town to find stuff. You find comic book stores you like. You find comic book stores you don't. I do the same thing to this day. I'll still go check around town just to see, because other people have other things. So I'm loyal to Astro Zombies. I have a box of Astro Zombies, and I go there every week. But I'll still routinely check every other store in town, because they might have something that Astro Zombies doesn't have. I know, and the internet has made it super easy, because I could just go check eBay or Abe's Books, or I could go look on Amazon and maybe I can find this stuff. But there's something about that hunt as a comic fan or as a collector, that you could go to some obscure bookstore, or you could go to some local record store. Back in the day, I guess there's not really much record stores now, but you could go find something that you couldn't find before that was out of print. I stopped in a Comic Warehouse one day, and for some random reason they had a brand new copy, still sealed, for cover price of the Absolute Danger Girl, which is out of print, and it's, from what I heard, kind of a whale, you know what I mean? And I saw it for cover, and I was like, I want that book. It's right here. It's right now. I don't care. I'm going to get it, because it's, you know what I mean? It's not even because it's a whale. It's because I want that Absolute, and it's here. I've had that happen way too many times, just stopping in at random bookstores and finding things if I go to Santa Fe to visit, like for any reason, there's a kind of a tattoo shop up there where we love the whole crew and they're amazing and they love us. And the last time I went to get tattooed up there, I was like, I'm going to stop at this comic store in Santa Fe because I know they got good stuff. One time we went last year, I think it was, or the year before, we went to Eagle's Nest, and it was like, okay, I'm going to stop in Santa Fe because I know there's a comic store out here and I always wanted to stop. Dude, I blew like $300 because I found so much shit on the shelf that I was like, my mind goes to those places. Like if I travel in any state, are there any comic book stores around there? Can I go look? Because that collector in me is just like, what do they have that I can't find? What do they have?
Yeah.
Dude, some dude in the group the other day posted about some comic shop out in Georgia, and he posted like all the pictures. He's like, they take over the phone orders and they'll ship. And he posted like shelves, like all the shelves, and I'm just sitting there looking at the shelves going, I could get that book. I could get that book. And I had to like argue with myself. I was like, he's like, they're only open Wednesday to Saturday. And I'm looking, I'm like, I could call first thing Wednesday, easily drop. Easy, because they're all cover price because it's all shelf stuff. I could easily drop probably about $1,000, which I shouldn't be doing. Not with what I owe the IRS. I shouldn't be doing this in any way. So I have to sit here and talk myself off this ledge because I'll go check the group and you see that post and it's like, crap. There's 2 absolute Prometheas right there. Volume 1 and Volume 3 probably, and those are almost impossible to find, and I could call and get them for cover. Like, you know what I mean? My mind just starts doing these little things, and I'm like, I don't need it. I have the 30th anniversary edition of both those books. I don't need it. But fuck, I want it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like stupid shit like that. Like,
well, that's why I stopped. Like, I used to love looking at organic price books or
so
like going to
hard.
West comic book stores. That's why I just stopped.
Especially these places with the discounts.
Yeah.
Which is why I like always check IST and stuff. But for my big books, I do definitely. I mean, most of my books, like I said, I get through my comic store and I'll just pre-order them. But like the big books and stuff, I get because you can't beat those discounts.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. Like I'm all for supporting local, but like this is 45% off is like that's invaluable. That's actually crazy. Like, yeah, it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, IST, organic price books, cheap graphic novels. Like I've checked all of them on a recent video, and every now and then they got the freaking sales too. And it's like, well, let me go see what they have in the sale. And I have to tell myself half the time, I'm like, do you really want this book, or are you just getting this book because you could get it for 65% off? And it's like,
right.
I probably don't need to. And so every now and then, a few months back, I did a good little purge through my collection, and I probably got rid of like a good chunk of books, but still. And then you go tell yourself, it's like, okay, I'm good. I think I got it to where I want it. And then all of a sudden, like I said, you find a new series, and it's like, now I need all the other volumes of this. Damn it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've tried to do that myself. Like, especially when I was moving, I was like, okay, are there any of my books that I don't want? And I'm not touching my trade paperbacks ever because that's like I would feel bad getting rid of them. Like there were only the trade paperbacks that I got rid of. I gave to my my buddy's little brother because he really the little kid was getting into comics, and I was like, you know what, these are all very commonly found trade paperbacks, and every single one of these double dip into my omnis, so I don't feel bad about this. Here we go. But the other ones like, no, these are the ones that I've had since I was like really young. I feel bad getting rid of those. But I tried looking at like my omnis, and I was like, no. Yeah, I actually like all of these.
I get,
you know what I mean? Like I was like, no, like, this is like a good representation of like each side of the universe that I like. I'm okay, and I'm certainly never getting rid of my fucking Berserks. That's never happening. So
and anytime I see like in the group, I see people like posting sales pitch of like the entire. I'm like, why would you get rid of that book? Did I tell you I finished it?
Yeah. Don't tell me how it ends or where it's at right now.
It was so good. I even found online like a couple of the chapters they've done since he died. And because there's only been a couple chapters, I think like the new chapter is supposed to be dropping now in April or May or something.
I heard in July or some shit.
But either way, I read they don't feel the same. But it consumed me. I won't lie. I mean, and that's what I want from stories. I think any kind of stories or series, mostly, you know, because it's easy to read a book and you can fall in love with like that one book or something. But when you got a series and it just consumes you to where I'm going to watch some YouTube videos on it. I want to see what other people say. I want to go deeper into this lore. And when that's all that you have, it messes you up. That book messed me up. You had told me you didn't get any spoilers for it, did you? And I was like, no. And you're like, good. Just let me know whenever you get about volume 5 or so. And I was like, okay. So I just kept reading. And I was like, that shit fucked me up.
Yeah, the Eclipse.
I wasn't, that was, without spoiling anything, that was like a red wedding kind of moment.
Yeah.
That shit was intense.
Yeah.
And that series Berserk messed me up. It was a really good series. It stayed stuck in my head for a while.
And like what I liked about it is they didn't like build up to it. It was them teasing at what that was because everything takes place after that. Like the big event has already happened.
Yeah.
The biggest event, at least from what I've read so far, the biggest event is a flashback. It's like, oh, it takes, and then, yeah, so those books are real. Like, for people listening, these are like 350-ish page books. So that time's like 3.5, right? Because it's in the middle of 4 when that happens, I think, or middle of 5 or whatever. So 3.5 or 4.5 times or whatever. It becomes, it's like, oh, now we see why this world is so fucked up. Now we see why Guts is so fucked up. Now we see why it's like, whoa. And I don't know.
And I know it goes back.
It's so clever. You know what I mean? Like I just love the execution.
And I know
I'm
the
a little
series...
stoned, but like that's what I love about it. It's like the execution of the biggest thing being a flashback.
I was gonna say, I know this series has been around for a long time, and for everything I've experienced seems to be like it's the basis for a lot of stuff that's come out since then. But to think that it's like this is the first volume. We're gonna, speaking of these omnibuses, which, like you said, they're 300 page. Each volume is about 300 pages. The first volume just kind of sets up this world, and then we're gonna spend the next 5 volumes going into the past and building. What is that? 300 pages times 5? You know what I mean? You're gonna spend this much time getting back to the point where you originally started. Like, who does that? Like, it's just. I don't know. It was good. It sucked me in. It completely sucked me in. So it just, to go what I say, it would trip me out that people would sell that. Why would you sell that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Especially how like gorgeous it looks on a shelf. Like legitimately, like it looks. I want to get when they start, if they ever make them again. I want to get the bookends. You've seen those, right?
Those things are dope.
Like the actual, like there's aftermarket ones, the custom ones people have made, but like the actual bookends where it's got his. I forget what the sword is actually called, but he's got his big ass sword going through all the books, and then like on one of the ends, it's got the bafflement on it, and like that would be fucked. Like that is one set I could never like imagine getting rid of.
No, it's good.
I could never imagine getting rid of that.
It earned a permanent place on my shelf, and like you said, it looks good. There's the Blade of the Immortal series, because Dark Horse did the same thing with
How
that.
is
With like
that?
the fake. It's good. It's a good series. It's not like Berserk, like the way Berserk, but it's still a good series for what it is. It's a classic for a reason, you know.
I've wanted to get that just because of how it looks on a shelf. Like, oh well, if it's getting this treatment, I'm sure it's good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's actually like worth reading.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it looks good. The art's good. Everything. But like you were saying, no, I've done the same thing where I've weeded out. I've upgraded. Well, that was one of the things, and it started like around COVID where I started upgrading that. So I would be like, I like the way the hardcovers look, so I'm going to take these. I think it mostly started with like the Invincible. I have all the trades for it, but these 3 trades make one hardcover. I like the way the hardcovers look, so I started upgrading a lot of my books to hardcovers.
Did you see those new hardcovers they came out with?
Yeah, the fat ones, like the Omni ones.
I want those because I've got the first compendium that I haven't finished yet. And then Joey has the second one because he knows I had the first. So he was like, I have no interest. Like, because he loves comics too, but he's not like the physical media type, like to hold on to a lot of them, like for a long time.
He's not like us.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, well, he has one, I have 2. Okay, that makes sense. But I want to get that fucking set so bad. Those hardcovers
nice.
Are gorgeous.
But yeah, I started converting a lot of my trades, if I could find them, to hardcovers. And sometimes maybe I would upgrade to the Omni. I kind of like the way the hardcovers look. It's like I have the Punisher Max all in the deluxe hardcovers, and
those deluxe hardcovers are so good.
And my whale for the longest time was, I think, like volume 5 or 6. It was either volume 4 or volume 5, and it was like the one out of all of them you could find easy. It was the one that was the hardest to find. And somebody in the group one day I was like, dude, if you break it up, I want that one volume. And then he messaged me, and he's like, well, this much for it. And I was like, I'll fucking take it. I want it. And so even once they came out with the Omnis for it, I was like, I like my hardcovers.
Yeah,
I don't need the Omni.
Yeah. Because those are back when, like, oversized hardcovers.
I like the oversized hardcovers.
But that's back when they were actually given care. They are a little bit more now with, like, the modern X-Men stuff. Those look good on a shelf. But for the most part, they just look like a trade paperback, like, expanded. You know, there's no real, like, extra. Because if you're paying, like, let's say, like, even like 10 years ago prices, if you're paying
$55 was
if you're paying like $25 max for a trade, usually like 18 to 20 for a trade, But then, yeah, you're asking $40-$50 for a hardcover. You got to give me a little more than the fact that it's just a hard book. Like, you got to give some more art with it, stuff like that. And they don't really do that too much anymore. But, and it has this look on a shelf, too, right? It's looking kind of unique. But the way that those fucking Punisher Maxes look on your shelf, and then you have the Nick Fury as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like, I have all of that run in trades, but I don't have the Fury. I've never read the Fury. But yeah, I just have them in trades, and that's my favorite Punisher.
It took me a minute, but I went through and I have all of the NS Punisher stuff in hardcover. The only thing I don't have in hardcover is the Barracuda miniseries, the Soviet one, and there was the original Fury Max that Garth Ennis did that came out, because they never put those out in hardcover. But everything else that he did, I went back and I found the hardcover for. So that way I didn't have to get the Omnis, but I have them all in a hardcover version. So there's so many books like that. And then as I got rid of my trades, I would pass them off to my middle child. She's gotten so many of my books that I passed her, because I was like, do you want more books? She's like, yeah, I'll take them. Okay.
That's awesome.
I was like, fine, you can get them. And then other ones, take them, flip them for store credit, stuff like that. There's places in town where you could go. But yeah, it was a lot of
passed on the hobby. Does she like it? Like you passed on the hobby.
Yeah,
you
she likes reading. She enjoys it. There's books that she likes more than other ones and stuff like that. But yeah, she's pretty. And then she'll message. One of the things is, we used to have a bookbinder here in town called New Mexico Bookbinders, and I guess after COVID they ended up closing down, like so many small businesses did. But who knows what the way the printing market is and stuff like that too. But I used to take just stacks of comics, and you can get. It'd be like $25, and you can get up to 5 inches was the max that they could bind. And one of the ones I did is I took all my Grant Morrison comics, my Batman run, and I made just what I call the Batman Bible. And it was literally everything from Batman and Son all the way to Batman Incorporated. And it was just in one fat book. And then whenever they came out with the Omnis, I was like, those fucking Omnis are nice. I'm going to get those. And I even have the absolutes of them just because I'm such a freaking Grant Morrison stan. But so what I did is I passed that Bible on to my kid, and she was just like, so she would message me whenever she was reading it. She would message me and ask me questions and stuff like that. And
like, why did Robin cut off somebody's head? What?
So no, I've got her. There's been plenty of books that I've given her that she's fallen in love with. All my kids though.
How old is she now?
She is 20. She just turned 24 back in December. And then my youngest is...
Oh, so she's in it for life.
Oh, yeah.
She's in it. Like, that's... Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
she loves to read. They're the age, too, where they love manga a little bit more. But she turns me on to stuff, too, though. She's like, have you watched this show? You need to watch the show. Watch the show. Have you started watching the show yet? Dad, when are you going to watch? It's like... It's subtitled. Most of the time I watch stuff when I'm at work, so I can't pay attention. I need to pay more attention to it. I'll get to it. But, like, because of her, I freaking love Demon Slayer. I watched all that, or Jujutsu Kaisen, stuff like that, because of her, because she turns me on to it. And so, but yeah, so they get me back.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Then me 24, 25. I'm 26. I find myself over the last couple of years, and it only got fucking accelerated by Godzilla -1. But I am appreciating. It really happened during the pandemic. Like because I grew up watching my extent of anime, or even like anime adjacent material, was Cartoon Network. So, like, obviously, Naruto was huge when I was little, and I was super into that.
I was going to say, by that time, Dragon Ball Z was probably already done.
It was ending, yeah. But my uncle, who's 8 years older than me, he was super into Dragon Ball, so I would, like, watch that, and I'd get, like, snippets of that. And then, like, these aren't count as anime, but, like, Samurai Jack and then Teen Titans. Just because of that animation style. I was like, oh, that kind of looks like Naruto in places, you know what I mean? I never really got into it too much. Never really got into manga. But then, like, yeah, during the pandemic, my ex showed me Berserk, and I was like, oh, shit. Whoa. And I really got into, like, and then I got super heavy into, like, Attack on Titan. That's dope.
It's finding the ones that appeal to you.
Yeah. I can't do the, like, super Japanese, super, like, hyper, not that Berserk isn't at times, but, like, the hyper, like, sexualized, like, that super, like... There's a culture for that in Japan, and God bless them, yeah. All right? But, like, the more traditional Japanese storytelling that, like, and it's funny, like, the more you read that I've noticed, the more you read the, like, 80s and 90s, like, manga, And then even some of like stuff like Naruto or some of the stuff like obviously Dragon Ball, but then like even newer stuff like Attack on Titan, you can see where like Japanese storytelling has affected Western storytelling.
Oh yeah,
and it's just cool to like have that appreciation growing up in American storytelling and seeing like, oh, this is why people love this so much. I get this now,
and you can see the shift. I mean, it's been a minute, but it was back before Borders closed, and you can see the graphic novel section just took up like a thing. But they were one of the ones that really embraced and saw how popular the manga was getting, because you'd flip around and it'd be like almost an entire wall of manga. Go to the Barnes and Noble now and look at the time and energy they invested into their manga section.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Well, it's huge.
It's popular.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things that the comic industry always talks about, is like everybody complains, oh, well, the Batman books only sell this much, or oh, only X-Men books. Fucking books like Dogman is probably one of the highest selling graphic novels out there, but you don't hear it talk about, and it's because it's a young adult kid. It's what kids are reading. It reminds them of manga. They reach into that. Oh shoot! Like you were saying, you're as old as my oldest, so it makes me sound old. But it's I laugh, and I always say I grew up at the perfect time of culture. So many people my age, like that tail end of Gen X, kind of going into millennial. I'm literal tail end of Gen X. I was born at the end of the 70s. So I grew up with all that great stuff like The Incredible Hulk, Wonder Woman, even the crappy Spider-Man Chinese TV series that we got on TV Buzz. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friend, He-Man, Transformers, all this stuff that is culture these days, because everybody my age is now making the culture, and it's everything we grew up with. But I grew up watching, like when Nickelodeon used to start, they would show you like cartoons in the morning, and then maybe you would be lucky and you'd get like some kind of anime cartoon that was popped in. So I got to see stuff like Robotech or like these weird odd movies that still haunted me to this day. There's this one anime that came out, and it's called Unico and the Island of Dreams. It's this cute little chibi looking unicorn, and it has this adventure, and there's this evil wizard that floats around in a fucking ball that has bulging eyes and weird fingers with flat thing, turns people into like these puppet statue things. I saw this as a kid. It haunted me for years.
What's it called?
Unico in the Isle of Dreams. And it messed me up for years. Like, I would have nightmares randomly about the stuff that I saw in this anime as a kid. I've gone back and since watched it. It's disturbing. I've showed it to kids. I'll share it with anybody who wants to watch it, because for this cute little unicorn, this thing is it's like so disturbing.
How do you spell Unico?
Unico. So like unicorn, just shortened. Unico.
Unico.
And the Isle of...
Oh, she's from 83. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So it's super fucked, huh?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's a trip, and especially to see as a kid. It, like I said, it haunted me. It took me forever, and as an adult, I went back and I was like, what was that? And I looked it up.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy as shit.
And then the people would start like making buildings and stuff. And there's like other puppet people. It's interesting, but like stuff like that. And then because of Transformers, which had a strong, obviously, Japanese culture influence and stuff, and and very anime adjacent. And then late 80s, one of my we used to have video stores back in the day, people, if you didn't know that. And not just like Blockbusters, like small time local people just had little stores. They're the kind of places you'd go that had the porn rooms in the back that you had to be led into.
Through the magic beads.
We had one in the South Valley, and they always had like really cool stuff, but they had Akira, and I rented that, and it freaking blew my mind. It blew my mind, and it showed me what animation could be. And then you start coming across other stuff like Fist of the North Star, which that cartoon is violent as hell. And they came out with a live action movie at that time, and watching people get like their hands stuck through their chest and their heads exploded and stuff as a kid in a movie, that was like, it very much like, I was just like, I was always a kid that was kind of more attracted to like the dark, gruesome stuff. You know what I mean? I would very much that gateway drug of once you start like horror, once you start something that scares you, well, what's going to scare me more? What's going to scare me more? And you keep wanting to get more extreme. So I was always sucked into that, whether it came to like horror novels, horror movies, stuff like that, like anime. It's like, holy crap, that thing was violent. What else is out there? Let me see. You know what I mean? And then really messed you up like once you get into like Ninja Scroll in the mid 90s and that like 90s anime boom and stuff like that. That was just Ghost in the Shell and everything that showed you showed you how they were pushing animation and
Yeah.
stuff in ways that were just, I was like, ah. And then you see stuff like X-Men cartoon and you're like, do you guys not have that kind of money? How are you making this when, look at that? And everybody's like, this is a great looking cartoon. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that is probably the only thing that has aged about something like Batman the Animated Series is just the animation they were using at the time. It's still gorgeous. Yeah. But there are moments where I'll look at it and I adore that show. I've watched it through dozens of times, but like maybe not dozens, but like a lot of times. And I'll be watching it like, man, yeah, that's the 90s. Oh yeah, man, that's how I remember it. Yeah, it's crazy. But it's still like, but what's undeniable about that show is the storytelling. And it's how good, even for, there were through lines and there were like continuing elements, but for it being a mostly serial Monster of the Week type show, it was so fucking good.
They put care into it. You can tell they put care into it. They treated it like, not just a cartoon, they treated it like an adult show. Whereas like the Batman 66 one, that was more... It was more pop culture-y and very much playing to that what it was. So it's goofy on purpose. Or even if it wasn't, they definitely embraced it after a while, the campiness of it and stuff. But they wanted to make an adult Batman cartoon, and God, they succeeded. They put so much, like the animation, like it's there. You can see it. The writing, the writers all did good. The animation was good. The choices they made, like doing like the black backgrounds and stuff. And I don't know, even whenever they like made it a little bit more kid friendly and kind of simplified the animation, and like I think it's like season 3 or whatever, and it became Batman and Robin adventures and stuff. It was still good. They still had episodes that, like there's that one episode where they do like the Dark Knight and they go back to like year 1 kind of Batman and stuff. And they just, but then they still carried it, because I think the Superman the Animated Series was a really good one too.
Same.
And then the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited are just, they're stellar. They're good. DC used to have Marvel on animation. Like Marvel used to be DC's bitch when it came to the animation, and it showed, because you're telling me I can watch a show like Batman, but then I have to watch something like the Spider-Man. Everybody loved the Spider-Man cartoon too, and it was enjoyable for what it was.
You're just saying wild shit to say wild shit, dude.
No,
you are not about to talk shit about Spider-Man from the 90s.
You know what? It was okay. It was an okay cartoon. It sucked me in every now. I grew up with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. No matter how cheesy and how corny it was to me, that's what I remembered. You know what I mean? But you see these DT cartoons, and then you see what Marvel was putting out. They had that Avengers Unlimited cartoon. They had like some Fantastic Four and Iron Man cartoon. None of them were ever
I like
good.
I like the Iron Man and Fantastic Four ones. Those were good.
I never thought any of them were as good as the DC.
Oh yeah, no, I would no. Batman the Animated Series beats X-Men. It beats Spider-Man. Those are the best two of the Marvel stuff. But yeah, it beats all of that. That's not even a question.
Even the modern stuff, though, I think like the DC movies that they put out,
mostly
I think
good.
They're solid. And then I watched something like What If, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like What If never lives up to its potential. Unfortunately, there were a couple that were cool. Like I liked the Infinity Ultron one. The zombie one was fine.
The Doctor Strange one, I think, is probably the best one.
That's my favorite one. Is the one where he keeps fucking up the universe, so he remakes it, and that one's really good. Ruined the legacy of that animated character in Multiverse of Madness, but what are you gonna do?
Yep.
But yeah, no, I'd stack all of those against Batman the Animated Series literally every day, like because there's nothing that beats that. This is obviously a very leading question, but talking about Warner Brothers fucking things up again, man, what a way to fucking end Kevin Conroy, huh?
Dude.
Did you play Suicide Squad?
No, it looks so horrible.
It's horrible.
I saw your rant on that. I heard your rant on that. You were livid.
I filmed. I wanted to only be on camera to do that because I had shit to do that night. I plan on only talking for like 15 or 20 minutes, and I did that for an hour, just angry. And I try not to. You've seen Angry Joe on YouTube, right? I try to turn to that. That's his thing, and I'm not trying to copy anybody. But like, it's like I was upset when the video game ended because I played it. I paid $70, and I played 11 hours of gameplay, and I got to a point where I was upset when it ended, and I was upset throughout the movie or the game, but I was upset when it ended, But it's like, as I started, because I didn't have any notes or anything like that, I just like, okay, I know what I want to talk about. I know what I don't like. It's like I sat down, and as I started hearing myself talk about what I just went through, because it got to a point where, like, you know, I was playing it, and I liked the first like 2 hours of it. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Oh, this could be it. But it just doesn't get better. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And finally, I had a free Saturday. I was like, you know what? I have, like, statistically, and it was mostly right, I have 6 hours left in this game. I have literally nothing going on today until 9:30. Let's just, I'm gonna get it over with. I have to see how, is this as bad as people say it is? And it was so much worse. And I remember as I was just hearing myself speak, I was like, oh my God, they really made these decisions. Like, I get it. It's a story from the villain perspective, and it's called Suicide Squad to kill the Justice League. You get what you pay for. You know what I mean? Like, respect and credit where it's due. You get what you pay for. You do kill the Justice League, but, like, it's the execution, the way that it's done, and, like, the way Batman is killed, man, and, like, and there's, like, and what kills me about it is because the lead developers of Rocksteady left, like, 3 months into production or something like that.
Of course.
Yeah, and they started their own studio. I think it's called, like, 100 Step Studio or 100 Feet Studio or whatever. Anyway, there is some really cool things in it, and it makes me mad. Like,
Don't you hate that?
Like you go to the Hall of Justice, and there's these, like, larger than life holograms of each Justice League member, and they're clearly supposed to be talking to kids and families. So it was like, you go to the Superman one, and it's a fucking giant hologram, and he, like, kneels down and says, well, Diana thought that we should have this place for us to meet, for all of our friends to come together. Well, if you're here, that means you're my friend too. It's like, that's Superman.
Right.
Like, that's such a beautiful thing. And, like, there's a part where you go through the Daily Bugle, and you see, like, oh, like, they're like you see the destroyed desks of, like, Clark Kent, Perry White, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and the desks have personality to them. Like, you can tell that fucking this universe's Jimmy Olsen's probably an Adderall addict, because he has got all these papers everywhere and film, and then there's Clark Kent's very orderly and put together, and then you see, like, before you even see that, because Lois Lane, part of her, like, nameplate was blocked by a newspaper, but it's got, like, a bunch of stuff of, like, her. It's got, like, pictures of her and Clark, and then, like, Clark's parents. It's like, oh, so this
There's
is
good
Lois
character moments.
But then everything surrounding it, and then, like, you by definition, you don't beat the game at the end of the game. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I didn't know that.
So what happens is you beat Brainiac, and it's like, then you find out, because of the multiverse, it's like, oh, this invasion is really happening because there's 13 other Brainiacs you have to beat through DLC.
No. God, no.
Don't you get tired hearing that?
Yeah, you know what? You know what? And I'll put blame squarely on them. EA fucked up the gaming industry with their stupid microtransaction bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll forever be one of my biggest complaints about games is I am already paying how much for this game, and I have to, not only does it get updated constantly because you didn't finish the game because they forced you to rush it and put it out, but now you want me to spend about another $200 on extra downloaded content? God of War did it right. They're like, you know what? We got some extra playable shit for you. Are we going to charge you? No,
it's
fuck
free.
you. Here you go. Go have fun with it. It's extra shit for you to play. You know what? It's because I grew up in a time where you spent $60 on a game. You got the whole game.
Yeah.
I miss those days. But I'm going to say it, my hot take, with the exception of Injustice, the Lego games, and the Marvel vs. Capcom, I don't think there's been any good superhero games.
Arkham,
oh, you know what? The Arkham. You're right. The Batman.
Spider-Man? Marvel Spider?
I haven't played the Spider-Man
Okay,
ones.
that's why you said
them,
okay.
But I haven't played them.
Oh, okay. You need to.
You're right. The Batman Arkham ones, the first two are really good. The one where you're driving around town in the Batmobile, that one's not so great. But the first two, the Arkham City and the Arkham Asylum,
yeah,
those ones are fucking great.
So you need to play Spider-Man.
I've heard good things about it. I own it. I haven't played it.
Now.
My gaming time is so fucking...
You need to...
I own the first one. I don't have the second one, but I have the first one. I have like the Game of the Year edition too, so it's got all the downloadable shit with it.
Dude, even the DLC is great.
Yeah.
Even the DLC is great. Oh my god, those games are so good. Like
the Sega Genesis fucking X-Men game that came out like in '96 is dope. The tabletop X-Men game and Ninja Turtle game and stuff like that. Those are fucking dope. I sound like an old man.
Yeah,
but every time, like that Midnight Suns game that came out, that Avengers game that came out, that Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out, they all look like crap.
So Guardians, I'll be honest, I have it, and I'll play it every now and again because I got it on sale, and it's fun. I just, again, all my gaming time, well, I haven't really been gaming a lot up until like 2.5, 3 months ago because of Helldivers has taken over my fucking life. I adore Helldivers. It is so fucking good.
I love getting sucked into a game. That's how I am with God of War. It'll fucking suck me in, and I need to put 90 hours into this thing and not stop.
I adore it. But like Guardians is not bad. I'll be honest. Like if you can get it for like $25, it's honestly a really fun game.
And they probably have like a Game of the Year edition by now or whatever, gold edition that has all the shit in it.
Yeah, so like the combat's pretty fun. The writing's pretty cool. I have heard that in the middle it kind of slogs, and that's what I'm going through right now. Mm-hmm. But apparently, like, the whole story itself is great. But yes, you're completely right about Midnight Suns. You're completely right about, and I bought Avengers. How bad that was. It's I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like Injustice was phenomenal. The Batman Arkham games, the Spider-Man games have been phenomenal. I hope Wolverine is good. Deadpool was fine. It just got boring. Superhero video games, because they were all based off the movies and they were all bad. Yep. Like the Batman Begins game was fine for when it came out. I remember I had that and I was obsessed with it, but they took the skeleton of that game and they took the meat and potatoes of it and blew it up into Arkham Asylum. And then like the Fantastic Four games, I remember renting those weren't good. The X-Men Legends was fine, the second one. Marvel Rise of the Imperfects. Did you ever play that?
No.
I played that on GameCube. It's like it's a 3D fighting game, like open arena. That wasn't too bad. Not great, but it was. I just love the fact that you had yellow and red Daredevil and you could fly around. Like you could almost like Spider-Man around the map.
Yeah. I think it's a big commitment to ask of people.
Yeah, no, because games these days cost $100.
Yeah, easily. It's not even like the $60 game if you're lucky. That's the base model.
Well,
the base model.
We are now in the era of $70 base games.
Yep.
And I hate the fact that I paid $100 for Mortal Kombat. That game fell off so hard. And they still haven't released all the DLC characters yet. Like, I bought it because I was like, okay, I want, like, the Mortal Kombat characters and this are fine. But I want to play as Omni-Man, I want to play as Peacemaker, and I want to play as fucking Homelander. I want to play as They
just released those ones, didn't they? I know the Omni-Man one is out, but
yeah, they released all of them except for the last Mortal Kombat character. I forget who it is, and then Homelander. I played as Omni-Man and I loved it. I bullied kids with Omni-Man. It was disgusting. Bullied them online. But then like there wasn't enough to make me keep coming back. There wasn't like I hated the cameo system. The way like call in the people to help you. I hated that. And like the matchmaking was trash. The lobbies were just terrible. It made no sense. And
but
like,
it's bloody.
Yeah, right. No, for
that
real.
That was the big selling point about it, though. It's the return of the gore.
Oh, and the fucking what's it called? The storyline was trash. I don't know.
It's hard. Like we said, it's a big commitment. You know, if somebody comes out with a new album, and I like to support the artists that I really like, so I'll buy their album. I don't care if it's fucking digital. I'll buy it. Hey, I could stream it, but you know, I'll buy it because I'm supporting you because I like you. But if you put out a whack album, maybe there was just one or two songs on it that I liked, it's $15. Big deal. $12. Big deal. Maybe I got it on sale. It was $10. If there's a movie that came out that I was really pumped for and I spent the money on it, you know, it's not much. Big deal. You know, a comic, I spent $5 on this comic and I was disappointed. Don't get me started on Fall of X.
Or the American Psycho comics are fucking trash, but continue.
You know, like I spent more on fucking lunch that day than I did this piece of media that I got. But a video game, you're asking me to spend anywhere from $70 to $120. Some of these fucking games are $120 to get extra DLC or whatever that comes out. I don't remember what game it was I was looking at that just recently came out, and it was like the deluxe edition. It was like $120. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? There's no way. And I looked at the base one, and it's like $75. I was like, I'll wait till you're on sale. Yeah. There's no rush.
Well, this is a good way to wrap up the conversation, too, to bring it full circle. You brought it in the beginning of your tattooing. You bring up, you have been doing this for so long. You've built a name for yourself. You are a brand. Carlos Cordova out of Archetype Tattoo is a brand. It's a brand people can trust. One that I've trusted, right? So, an exception to that rule that you're just talking about with video games, From Software. Elden Ring was $60 and phenomenal. I adored Elden Ring. There are parts of it that made me want to put my fucking head through a wall, but I loved Elden Ring. Their new DLC coming out, their DLCs are typically like $15 to $20. Shadow of the Erd Tree in June is $40. But because of what they've put out in the past,
you can trust it.
I'm like, oh, so this is going to be like, I'm expecting, and I'll be very angry if it's not, but I'm expecting this game to be as big as like the first half, maybe even 60% of like Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that ballpark because it's like, okay, these guys, they don't crazy gouge people. There aren't microtransactions. There's none of that. It's all base game plus like $15 to $20 DLC. Okay.
For $40 though, you should be at least getting about a good 50-hour gameplay.
Right. Like, and Elden Ring, my playthrough was 98, I think. And there's, I mean, you could spend hundreds of hours on one playthrough.
Yeah,
of
it's
that
open
game.
world.
It's open world. It's phenomenal. You know, that type of stuff, right? But like, if it's $40, I can trust them. So in total, granted, Elden Ring came out in 2022, but you know, in total, I would have paid $100 or so for a game. But like, I'm paying less than $1 an hour. I've just been spending $1 an hour in an arcade years ago.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, I don't know. That's
yeah. I get it though. I get it. And what do you want? Like we said, you don't want to spend it. You don't want to go get a tattoo and then walk away disappointed after dropping the money that you just dropped.
Ain't no refunds on that, son.
No. And you know, I've been doing it long enough that there's plenty of people I'm sure out there that are unsatisfied with what I've done or their work, you know, and in any event that they've ever come back to me, it's like, well, let me see what we could do to make you happy, you know?
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I am blessed that people love wearing my art on them. I apparently have a very good personality that everybody just like loves my presence. Ben talks highly about the fact that I do good solid work, but people love coming to me because of me.
You're calm.
And whatever it is that I bring, people love what I do, and people want to continue coming back. So I do my best to continue to hold myself to that and to do right by everybody. I want to make everybody happy. I can't help it. It's the kind of person I am, a people pleaser. I'm not going to make everybody happy, unfortunately. No. But it's few and far between.
No, you're not going to bat 1,000. But I would say I'd be shocked to hear that if there's a customer satisfaction rate, if it was below 99. And you're that good, dude.
And like I said, I've been doing this long enough, so it's bound to happen. You can't make the whole world happy, no matter how hard I try.
And where can people find your Instagram, like for bookings and all that?
My Instagram handle is Stolen Heart Tattoo, all one word. Just look for my nice shining face. I think that's my picture. I don't have hair. I'm bald, but in my photo, I have hair now. It's just being lazy about shaving it. But it's a bald guy in the picture, just smiling. It's me. Stolen Heart Tattoo on Instagram. It's probably the best way. My feed is nothing but my art, so it's a good way to see like tattoos. I'm horrible about posting, so maybe once every 2 weeks I'll post a new tattoo. I'm so behind on posting work, but I still post, and in my stories I have a tendency to usually post about what I did on the day. And
then what's the best way for people to book with you?
They can message me through there. Okay. And if not, on my Instagram, my little bio, I also have like my email and my phone number are always good to reach me. For text, don't try calling because I'll just stare at my phone till it stops ringing, and then see if you leave a voicemail or leave a text. I'm that kind of person.
That's
I
fair.
don't like talking on the phone.
That's fair. No, that's fair. Fuck it, that's fair, dude. All right, well, listen, man. This was a lot of fun. I knew it was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
I knew we were going to get geeky this time. Just the fact that you had all your books and stuff, because the books and stuff weren't in the room the last time. So all the geeky stuff, you maybe had a couple statues, but that was about it. Said no, it was going to get geeky this time.
Oh, yeah.
I had already planned, just seeing your other videos. I was like, he's got his books in the room. We're going hard.
Well, listen, man, I want to do it again sometime. This was awesome. And I'm not going to let fucking almost 2 years pass next time.
Sounds good.
So thank you again for coming on, dude.
Thank you for having me on.
You're a real busy guy, so I appreciate the time. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.